stood against Leo, this freckled punk who stood against Leo, this freckled punk who everyone calls a prodigy and who in the past life beat our boy down until he begged him to stop hitting so hard, like a good girl. But now Zeke knows this guy pulled some strings to make this duel happen, just so he could humiliate him for having a direct bloodline to the main family, even though they're cousins. In his past life, he couldn't even compete with the 4 menaces of the main family, and he was constantly bullied by the 12 cousins, one of them being Freckles. Zeke, you still haven't learned your lesson. Trash, like you shouldn't be up here. But our boy just shrugs, then replies that hell rearrange Leo's face if he says something like that again. The guy just pats him on the head, saying, short trash like him has no chance in this family. Boom, suddenly bro gets hit with a critical strike. Freckles is writhing in pain while the organizer shouts that he hadn't announced the start of the fight yet. Zeke simply replies that no one yells ready on a battlefield. The dude took the hit because he was distracted. The referee feels a chill from that lethal bloodlust. Then Freckles tells him it's fine. He says hell show him why. Zeke is an inferior piece of trash. The fight begins, and Freckles rushes in. He feels a few punches, but he's confused because Zeke's attacks are doing 0 damage. Sure, he only took damage earlier because his guard was down. Right then, he notices Zeke clenching his left fist, and Gearbro goes in to give him a hand. Thank you. Thank you. So if I want to say something, you'll show what you're doing. Thank you. Since the kids had no choice but to fight with everything they had, thank you. And there was the little menace about to fold Freckles while everyone just laughed and called him a sore loser. So pathetic no one could believe he had a direct bloodline. Now fast forward to after bro dropped the first body and called everyone out to throw hands. But despite our boy absolutely demolishing that last guy, there are still some brain-dead idiots who apparently didn't get the lesson. And the biggest idiot of them all? This clown is named Jekin Vartak. He steps up, all confident, challenging Zeke to a match. He's practically vibrating with keenness, ready to prove he's built different. But Zeke, the man's just standing there, bored as hell, like really, just you? So you know what our boy does. He straight up tells Jekin, bro, you'll need backup if you want this to be entertaining. And he calls out another student by name, Liam Stone, who is Jekin's personal bodyguard. Zeke is basically saying, you're so trash, you need a 2-1 just to make this interesting for me. Jekin's ego is shattered. The thought of needing help to beat Zeke is the ultimate humiliation, and he's absolutely not having it. But Zeke keeps poking the bear, talking that good trash, and now Jekin is seeing red, ready to shut him up permanently. As they step into the arena, the instructor gives Zeke a death glare and warns him, don't you dare move before I give the signal. Zeke just smirks because guess what? Jekin actually brought his servant along after all, which makes this even more fun. Now here's the thing about Liam in Zeke's past life. This dude was an absolute legend. We're talking mercenary king levels of badass. Back then, he served under Jekin and enrolled in the Cradle Academy, but since he was just a distant relative, nobody cared about his education. So the guy begged for a chance to study at Academy Valhalla, but ended up in the Knight Order of some tiny nation called Baron instead. When Baron got wiped off the map, Liam became a mercenary, and in those chaotic times, strength attracted followers like crazy. With years of battlefield experience behind him, he rose to fame as a Red Knight and eventually founded the Stone Mercenaries. The man united the 3 biggest mercenary factions and earned his title as the Mercenary King fair and square. Later, when the Empire hired his crew, Liam entered the Continental Wars, where he became one of the Northerners' worst nightmares. But this time, Zeke is determined to change that story completely. The second the instructor gives the signal, Jekin charges forward, throwing a massive punch that literally disturbs the air around it. But Zeke doesn't even blink. He catches it with one hand like it's nothing. Jekin yanks his hand back and tries a kick instead, but oh man, this backfires spectacularly. The moment his leg connects, pain shoots through him. He hit the reinforced barrier around Zeke's elbow and basically damaged himself. Before he can even process what happened, Zeke is already charging in, his fist glowing with an activated skill, ready to end this man's whole career. Jekin panics and throws his arms over his face to block, but here's the thing. Zeke was never aiming for his face. Our boy goes straight for that already injured leg and delivers a brutal blow. Before Jekin can even scream, Zeke follows up with a crushing punch to the ribs that makes him cough up blood. The once Saki fighter is now face-planting into the ground, screaming at his sidekick to finish Zeke off immediately. Now it's Liam's turn, and you can feel the air shift. This man is radiating straight-up killing, intent as he steps forward. The worst part, his reach is insane. If Zeke lets him throw the first punch, this fight could go sideways real quick. Knowing this, Zeke takes the initiative and launches a rapid assault. He activates a skill called Slash and moves so fast he's literally a blur, unleashing a relentless storm of punches. The speed completely messes with Liam's vision, forcing him onto the defensive, while the spectators on the sidelines absolutely lose their minds. True despair washes over them as they witness just how much of an absolute unit Zeke is. They're confused and curious, because in a world where swords are king, a guy who fights with only his fists is practically unheard of. Zeke's technique is undeniably impressive, but it's taking a serious toll on his body, and that's not even the biggest problem. The real challenge is Liam's monstrous physique. This man just stands there with his guard up, tanking every single hit. If he's this resilient now, imagine how terrifying he was when he ruled as the mercenary king. Realizing his attacks aren't making enough of a dent, Zeke decides to go all in. He channels everything into one final devastating strike, one that will break through Liam's defense no matter what. But just as he launches it, Liam dodges with ease. He redirects the strike like he's swatting a fly. The sheer audacity pisses Zeke off. Before he can react, Liam seizes the opening and hoists him high into the air, about to slam him into the ground, but Zeke refuses to go down without a fight. Thinking fast, he lands a sharp strike to Liam's head, and his class skill, Heightened Sense, activates, letting him capitalize on the moment. In an instant, he locks his legs around Liam's neck in a chokehold, cutting off his air supply, because no matter how absurdly strong you are, you can't fight if oxygen isn't reaching your brain. Zeke underestimated his opponent because instead of going down, Liam decides to reshape our boy's face with countless punches. But Zeke's plan, and eventually works. Liam's strength starts to fade, his movements grow sluggish, and at last he collapses, leaving the crowd unable to believe what just happened. Everyone is terrified of our boy, except this crackhead, who for some reason is even more pumped to fight him now. So a few hours later, our boy is chilling in his room when his butler walks in, already having heard the tea about the match. The old man instantly goes into worried parent mode, asking if Zeke is okay. But Zeke just brushes him off like, "Bro, I'm fine, relax." But the butler isn't having it. He straight up ignores Zeke and insists on checking his pulse anyway. Now Zeke is no idiot. He knows exactly what this sneaky ass is really up to. This isn't just a wellness check. Homeboy is trying to see if Zeke has awakened his aura yet. So Zeke extends his hand and the servant channels a stream of blue energy into him. The second Zeke sees it, he does a full double take. Hold up, is this random butler a blue knight? Because imbuing someone else with aura is already hard as hell, but controlling it with this much precision is next-level stuff. If this old man really is a blue knight, that raises one massive question. What the hell is someone of his caliber doing playing house servant? Quick breakdown of the knight hierarchy so you're not confused. White swordsmen are the bottom tier, basically kids before they receive their blessing ritual. Yellow swordsmen are newbies who have just awakened their aura. Then you've got purple knights who can reinforce their swords with aura. Blue knights can manifest actual aura blades. Red knights have transcended their limits. This is what both Liam and Zeke reached before the regression. And finally, black knights are basically mythical legends, with only a handful of them on the entire continent. So yeah, having a blue knight as your personal babysitter is absolutely wild. After finishing his little examination, the old man gets serious and asks if there is something. Zeke is hiding. Zeke doesn't even flinch. My boy keeps his poker face and flips the question right back at him. Do you know something I don't? Before things get too intense, Zeke laughs it off and says he was joking. But the butler can't help himself and asks why Zeke has changed so much. That question makes Zeke stop in his tracks. He turns around with those sharp eyes and hits him with, "You're asking the wrong question. Instead of asking why I've changed now, ask why it took me so long to change in the first place." Then our boy tells him, this is just the beginning. There are way more surprises coming, so instead of losing his mind every 5 seconds, He should just shut up and follow orders. The servant bows and reports that the training room Zeke requested is ready. On his way to the training hall, Zeke's brain works overtime, trying to figure out who ordered his butler to spy on him. But whatever, he's going to use this situation to his advantage. Keep the old man close, manipulate him, and squeeze out whatever information he needs. It's probably not anyone from his mum's side, since they wouldn't dare, which means it has to be one of his siblings pulling the strings. When he walks into the training room, Zeke is actually stunned for a second because the place is ridiculously fancy. Before getting started, he decides to check the system. With one command, the panel pops up in front of him. Right away, he notices his slash skill has reached the proficiency level. It must have leveled up from spamming it during the fight. Then his eyes land on the draconian skill. But it's locked, and unlocking it requires 10 karma points. While he's sitting at a big fat 0, a system message pops up saying he can earn karma points by killing monsters in dungeons. Well, he can't do that unless he's a purple knight, so that's out of the question for now. Plus, the thing he's most curious about is his regression, and what the hell this system even is. Without more information, there's no point overthinking it. He grips his sword tight. Whether it's through this system or his Draco bloodline, he's going to use everything to get stronger. It's time for more information. There are 2 main power systems, aura for knights and mana for mages. Knights refine aura in dungeons, while mages build up mana through circles, and as you'd expect, if you awaken one path, you permanently lose the other forever. Unlike everyone else in his household, Zeke awakened neither a dantian nor a circle, which basically marked him as a total failure and got him abandoned. After being tossed aside, he wandered around until he met his master, who taught him the ether hall technique, a way to harness nature's energy called ether. To this day, only he and his master can use it, which makes him pretty unique. After 2 hours of non-stop training, Zeke is about to collapse when his class skills, healing and vigor recovery, suddenly activate. Now, healing is crazy rare, and if anyone saw him using it, they'd immediately label him some kind of freak. That's exactly why he didn't use it against Liam. He only healed himself once, when he was safely back in his room. With his body fully restored, he goes right back to grinding. By the time dawn rolls around, the entire training hall looks like a war zone. A week flies by, and inside the Cradle cafeteria, students gossip about how Zeke seems like a completely different person. Since he was born a loser in their eyes, their only explanation is black magic, demon possession, or some wild nonsense like that. Meanwhile, in a private lounge, the Academy's elite are having dinner together. First up is Raina Tarun, eating in silence. Next to her sits Owen Zimmons, looking calm and proper, and across from him is Jekin, still beat up but loud as ever. Owen tells Jekin to eat properly since he has a swordsmanship duel coming up. But Jekin slams his fist on the table so hard, his steak literally flies off and hits the ground. The impact also makes Raina's steak jump off her plate, which instantly pisses her off. Her death glare alone makes Jekin freeze up. All 4 of these students have one thing in common. They absolutely hate Zeke's guts. But even with their shared hatred, it's obvious they don't actually like each other either. The only thing keeping this toxic friend group together is their mutual grudge against him. Owen admits Zeke was impressive during pancration, but he's convinced that in swordsmanship, Zeke is going to be absolute trash. After all, the guy doesn't even know how to hold a sword properly. One of them brings up how pathetic he must be. The man needed a customized sword because standard ones were too heavy for his weak body. Jekin still can't wrap his head around losing to that inferior piece of trash. He refuses to believe Zeke won through actual skill. It had to be dumb luck, but Raina doesn't buy their delusions. She looks at them with those cold eyes and says, "If you idiots actually believe that nonsense, then none of you deserve to be knights of the Draco household. Now, if you're sitting there wondering why these clowns were so confident Zeke would get destroyed in swordsmanship, let me give you some context. Unlike pancration, where things are somewhat controlled, sword duels are fought with real weapons, which is exactly why they're the #1 cause of injuries at this academy. This is where the skill gap becomes painfully obvious, and weak fighters get exposed real quick. A month after these finals, the blessing ritual will happen. That's when Drakers awaken their aura. Until then, these duels are the ultimate proving ground. The day finally arrives, and the instructor calls Zeke forward. Our boy steps into the arena without hesitation, casually resting this massive sword over his shoulder. The blade is so ridiculously big that the crowd immediately bursts out laughing, thinking this has to be some kind of joke. To them, it's obvious what's happening. Zeke is one of those idiots who thinks bigger means better, as if sheer size will somehow give him an advantage. From the other side, Reina steps up, fully pumped and ready to go. With this dramatic motion, she throws down the gauntlet, officially challenging Zeke. He accepts without thinking twice, but something about him throws her off. Watching him effortlessly lift that massive claymore, she realizes this isn't the same pathetic Zeke she remembers. The old Zeke could barely hold a sword without embarrassing himself, but now his whole presence is different, sharper and more intense. For just a split second, she actually feels intimidated, which immediately pisses her off. She's disgusted with herself for even thinking that, but she already issued the challenge, and backing down now is not happening. Meanwhile, Zeke is also feeling the pressure because his usual bag of tricks won't cut it here. This isn't just some random duel. This is a fight against the future Lightning Knight, and that's genuinely scary. In her past life, Reina Turun became an absolute legend during the Continental Wars, earning her place as one of the strongest warriors of her generation. Unlike most people, she awakened her aura years before the blessing ritual, a feat that put her in a completely different league. Even though she has this rare gift, she never used her aura inside Cradle, choosing instead to master the fundamentals like a true warrior. But that doesn't make her any less dangerous. The duel kicks off, and their swords crash together in a shower of sparks, with neither one backing down. After that first clash, Reina quickly steps back before charging in again. With one powerful strike, she forces Zeke to slide backward. That one exchange tells him everything he needs to know. She's even better than he expected. Without wasting a second, Reina lunges again, her blade moving at insane speed, each swing crackling through the air like lightning. In the background, her so-called allies are getting impatient, yelling for her to just finish this loser already. But one guy who's actually paying attention shuts them down real quick. You idiots need to open your eyes. She is not pushing him back. He's pushing her. From Reina's perspective, she can clearly see openings in Zeke's defense, weak spots she should be exploiting. But every single time she moves to strike those gaps, her attack gets blocked, and that's what pisses her off the most. It's like this isn't even a real duel to him. It's a training session. Every time she lands a hit, he creates another opening, basically inviting her to attack again, challenging her to actually break through his defense. After several intense exchanges, she steps back, breathing heavily and exhausted. But Zeke, the man isn't even remotely tired. In fact, he looks straight up bored. She's fighting with everything she's got, holding back her aura to rely purely on skill, which is exactly what he expected from someone obsessed with mastering the basics. But now he decides it's time to help her break out of her comfort zone. Zeke dramatically lowers his stance, making it look like he's about to explosively close the distance. Reina, confident in her speed, doesn't think much of it. She's sure that keeping her distance will let her react in time to whatever he's planning. But in literally the blink of an eye, Zeke closes the gap completely, and suddenly he's right in her face. Before her brain can even process what happened, he swings that massive sword with enough force to crack the ground beneath them, sending shockwaves rippling through the entire arena. Still, Reina sticks to her strategy. As long as there's space between them, she can counter his attacks. Then Zeke swings his sword through completely empty air. At first, it looks like a total whiff, a complete miss, but that wasn't the point. The sheer force of the swing sends debris flying straight into her face, smacking her right in the nose and leaving it bruised and bloody. The second she flinches from the impact, Zeke charges in with his sword aimed directly at her and stops just centimeters from her neck. In that moment, she's absolutely certain this is it. She's done, game over. But then, something completely unexpected happens. Zeke's sword suddenly flies out of his hands, landing several feet away. The crowd absolutely loses their minds, declaring him the loser and celebrating Reina's victory, without her even needing to use her aura. But one person isn't buying any of this nonsense. The instructor clearly saw what happened. He caught her using aura, even though it was extremely faint. She definitely used it, but the clueless idiots in the crowd didn't notice a thing. Here's what went down as Zeke's blade got way too close for comfort. Reina instinctively released a tiny burst of aura, barely there, but enough. Now why does this matter? Because Reina literally swore on her honor that she wouldn't touch her aura until she officially got into the academy, and Zeke just forced her to break that promise. She stands there for a second, completely frozen with doubt and regret all over her face. Then out of nowhere, Zeke rushes at her again, before she can even think about what's happening. His fist connects straight with her throat. She immediately starts choking, dropping to her knees as blood starts dripping from her mouth. The crowd completely loses it and starts cursing our boy, yelling that this was a sword duel, that it was a cheap shot, and that he has no shame. Everyone turns on Zeke instantly, pointing fingers and talking trash. My boy doesn't even bat an eye. Hez completely unbothered by all the hate and just calmly looks down at Reina, asking if she's trying to keep going or what. Reina is still struggling to stand properly, but she's stubborn as hell and insists she didn't lose, saying the only reason he landed that hit was because she wasn't paying attention. But then reality smacks her in the face. If Zeke had been holding a knife instead of using his bare fist, she would be dead right now, 6 feet under. That thought alone makes everything click. With actual respect for once, she admits defeat. The same crowd that was clowning Zeke and calling him human garbage seconds ago is now standing there in complete shock, mouths hanging open. Zeke Draker, the guy they called the family disgrace and absolute trash, just won clean as hell. And he didn't beat some random nobody either. He just bodied Reina Tarun, the future Lightning Knight and one of the most talented fighters of their generation. Then we cut to Abel's castle, and everything is a mess. The town is on fire. People are bleeding out everywhere, and this psychopath is casually sipping tea. But Abel isn't even paying attention to the chaos. Hez too busy reading a letter about how Zeke Draker just bodied Reina. He puts down his cup and asks when the blessing ceremony is happening. Turns out the full moon is still a few weeks away. So Abel decides, you know what? Perfect time to crash the Draker family party. William is standing there like, bro, you're going alone. But Abel doesn't give a woy. This renowned swordmaster is hyped to see the youngest Drakers awakening with his own eyes. Meanwhile, while everyone else is losing their minds celebrating Zeke's win, our boy is already back to the grind. He doesn't care about parties or praise. He goes straight back to training. Days pass, weeks fly by, and boom. A whole month later, it's finally time for the blessing ceremony. But Zeke is still sitting there wondering, how the hell did I become a red knight in my past life with that trash body? After finishing his workout, he pulls up his status window, and sure enough, his mastery skill reaches expert level. But here's where it gets interesting. Every time his skill ranks up, the mastery resets, which means he can keep refining them again and again. Even his swift step skill, the same move he used to demolish Reina, leveled up. He notices his butler, Decker, watching him like a hawk. Decker walks over and tells him it's time to get ready. They're leaving for the blessing ceremony in 2 hours. It's been forever since Zeke visited the Draker family's main estate in the Duchy of Troy. The family's main crib is in the center of the continent, but the blessing ceremony happens at the legendary Dragon Slayer battleground. When he arrives and steps out of the carriage, he walks into the dragon's nest lair and immediately realizes this isn't some casual family gathering. The room is packed with atmosphere. We're talking serious heavy hitters here. Some of them are definitely spies sent just to observe him, but our boy already knows how everything is going to go. But then his confidence evaporates the second he locks eyes with one particular man, someone who makes his blood boil just by existing. It's Abel, shaking hands with some random guest and looking bored as hell. Abel doesn't care about the ceremony itself, except for one thing, his youngest brother. See, the Draker family's second son is known as the Lion Blade, but Zeke knows him by a far more accurate name, the Butchering Knight. Standing face to face with his older brother, Zeke forces himself to stay calm because right now there's nothing he can do about it. Here's the thing though. In his previous life, Abel never showed up to Zeke's awakening ceremony, which means his actions at the Pancration competition changed the timeline. He clenches his fists, frustrated, but then realizes something important. This change might actually be an opportunity. Soon enough, the ceremony begins. Aaron is called up first to perform the ritual. He walks up without hesitation and sticks his arm into the mystical pool. Immediately, Blue energy starts surging through his body. An elder starts explaining how every Draker descendant has their aura sealed until they graduate from the cradle at age 12. This awakening process is what makes them special. Compared to regular knights who can only awaken in their 20s, the Draker bloodline gets this power way earlier. But even among the Draker elite, only a few awaken a special trait called mana inhibition, the Dragon Slayer's signature ability. The mana lamps around the pool start flickering like crazy, shooting red sparks everywhere. That's the sign Eren just received a pureblood awakening. Knights with mana inhibition can go toe-to-toe with even red and black knights, but there's a catch. Their bodies become so resistant to mana that everyday life turns into a nightmare. They need special gloves made by the Draker family just to function normally. Case in point, Rey, who already went through her awakening, now wears gloves 24/7. Once someone proves they're pureblood, they officially become part of the Draker family and receive unlimited resources, authority, and top-tier training. The crowd starts buzzing because it's finally time for the main event, Zeke Draker's awakening. Whispers fly everywhere. People genuinely believe his awakening will surpass even Reyna's. As Zeke steps forward, he gets hit with major déjà vu. He stood in this exact spot before. In his past life, this day brought him nothing but shame and humiliation. The blessing ceremony was the only thing that let him stay in the cradle, but the experience left him destroyed. Now, everything is different. He's not weak anymore. He learned to heal, control ether, and actually fight. He built resilience, strength, and the willpower to forge his own path. So as he stands before the bronze statue, he's filled with anticipation, expecting it to grant him something incredible this time. Zeke dips his arm into the pool. The bronze statue immediately starts shaking violently before suddenly stopping. The entire room goes dead silent. This has never happened before, not once in the entire history of the blessing ceremony. Even Abel looks speechless for a second. Zeke pulls his arm back, and he already knows what happened. Nothing changed. Despite everything, all his effort and all his growth, the result is the same. He let Abel's presence mess with his head and convinced himself this time would be different. But deep down, he knew the truth all along. The crowd erupts into whispers, their initial hype turning into straight-up mockery. The most anticipated candidate just failed to awaken. Sneers spread through the room. A direct descendant of the Draker bloodline showing no signs of awakening. It doesn't make sense. The whispers get harsher, and some people even start questioning his victory over Reyna, convinced he must have used tricks or cheated somehow. But Zeke couldn't care less. Instead of wasting time worrying about their judgment, he turns his focus inward, determined to find another way to get stronger. Then out of nowhere, the system glitches and interrupts his thoughts like, "Yo, my bad, we actually forgot some pretty important information about your class identification." Zeke just stands there like, what? But before he can even wrap his head around what's happening, the system keeps going. All right, inputs complete now. Terminal identification successful, user talent confirmed healer. And just like that, power starts flooding through his body. His class finally unlocks for real this time. But then another message pops up out of nowhere. Rare class unlocked. The second that appears, the bronze statue explodes with light. Not just any light either. Red light, and if you know anything about this world, red light means one thing: pureblood awakening. The entire chamber loses its mind. Everyone is gasping, freaking out, and asking each other how the hell this is even possible. Like, did this guy just skip straight to Red Knight status? That's not supposed to happen. The system digs deeper, connecting with something buried deep in Zeke's soul. Turns out it's the ancient dragon's blessing that's been hiding in there this whole time. Meanwhile, Abel watches all of this unfold with a completely blank face. But wait, there's more, because apparently the system wasn't finished clowning yet. Zeke's existing talents start glowing and merging together, transforming into something completely different. His screen updates one final time, and when he sees the new title, even he's confused. It reads, "Unique class unlocked the immortal." So while our boy tries to wrap his head around what the hell this new class even is, the whole room is absolutely losing it. People are straight up having mental breakdowns like, wait, wasn't Zeke supposed to be complete garbage? How the hell did this dude pull off a red awakening? Some desperate kekas try to convince themselves the statue is broken, but then someone says, Okay, but how do you explain the mana lamps going crazy? They're scrambling for any excuse to call it fake, but even they know they're full of it. That's when Abel decides it's his time to shine. He starts this slow, mocking clap that cuts through all the chaos with the most condescending tone imaginable. He's like, why isn't anyone congratulating our newly awakened pureblood? Everyone knows they're trapped. So one by one, the whispers die down and get replaced by awkward, forced applause. Abel demands that someone bring gloves for his little brother. Zeke takes them, but internally, he's rolling his eyes because he knows, well, he doesn't need them. Without saying a word, he just turns around and walks off. Abel looks smug and satisfied, but Zeke is absolutely fuming. Out of everyone who could have stepped in, it had to be that Abel. The ceremony shifts into some celebration party, but Zeke wants absolutely nothing to do with it. Just as he's about to leave, someone calls his name. He stops dead in his tracks. Abel casually asks where he's heading, then extends his hand to congratulate him. Look, Zeke hates Abel with every fiber of his being, but rejecting the handshake in front of the whole crowd would start unnecessary conflict. He forces a fake polite smile and reaches out, then freezes. A flash of blood slams into his mind, a memory from his past life. His body reacts before his brain can process it, and he yanks his hand back. A slow, creepy smirk spreads across Abel's face. Well, this is awkward. Looks like my dear little brother just embarrassed me in front of everyone. Zeke's jaw clenches. There is no way in hell he's shaking hands with this monster. Not after everything that happened. But Abel barely cares. With a little wave, he turns away. No worries. I'm sure we'll see each other again very soon. Zeke agrees with that. One day he'll face Abel, but it'll be on his own terms, not like this. At the party, all the nobles and warriors are buzzing like crazy. 2 pure-blood awakenings in one ceremony, and that's literally never happened before. But Zeke's awakening has everyone confused as hell. Nobody has ever seen a golden light appear. Yet despite being the main character of the night, Zeke is nowhere to be found. Our boy said screw this and dipped, choosing peace and quiet over fake small talk with these clowns. He's chilling in some quiet room, finally able to breathe, but something feels off. He isn't feeling any mana inhibition at all. And if you're wondering why that's a big deal, it's because pureblood awakenings are supposed to completely reject mana, right? That's literally the whole thing. Every pureblood awakener needs those special gloves, since their bodies can't interact with mana-based tools anymore. Yet here's Zeke, completely fine. He takes off his gloves and flexes his fingers. Nothing. 0 resistance. His status window pops up, and he spots the difference immediately. His trait isn't mana inhibition. It's mana reflection. He taps it for the details, and a system window pops up with information. It generates a distortion field that nullifies nearby mana. Unlike mana inhibition, this skill isn't passive and doesn't mess with standard mana readings. Oh, that explains everything. The mana lamps didn't react to him because he's not rejecting mana. He's literally distorting it. Then there's his class. Before the ceremony, the system labeled him as a rare class healer, but now, class the immortal. What the hell does that even mean? None of this adds up. At the graduation ceremony, every single Draker Awakener came out with a blue aura, standard boring results. The only exception was Reyna, who awakened as a red knight. And now there's him, with this golden light, a class called the Immortal, and a trait that isn't supposed to exist in the first place. Zeke starts putting the pieces together. The system flagged missing information about classification during his awakening. What if the system treated the bronze statue as the classification terminal? The second that missing data was injected, the statue went absolutely crazy, glowing red and everything. It's all starting to click now. The statue wasn't there to check if someone awakened. It was judging their class the whole time. Red glow means rare class, and gold means unique. This statue is some ancient relic that existed long before Tehran, the founder of the entire Draker family. These days, class identification isn't even a thing anymore, which is what caused this massive screw-up. Everyone assumed red light meant pureblood awakening, but no, it actually meant rare class. Even the current head of the clan has no clue about this. Zeke notices something else. He received 100 karma points during the ceremony. He doesn't waste a second and buys the draconian skill. Knowledge floods into his brain. He gains several beginner abilities: Dragon Eyes, Might of the Dragon, and Devour. The first two make sense. Devour only helps with digestion, which sounds useless as hell. Might of the Dragon needs aura to work, making it way too risky right now, so he tests Dragon Eyes first. At first glance, nothing seems different, until he looks outside. Staring at the statue in the garden, he realizes the skill cranks up his vision like crazy. But that's not even the best part. He can pull up detailed information about anything he looks at. Data rushes through his head, showing him intricate details about the statue's composition and everything. But the sheer amount of information completely fries his brain, leaving him drained. Every use comes with this kind of drawback. Hell, have to be really careful with it. Thankfully, his body's natural healing kicks in automatically. He didn't even try to activate it. It just happened. Checking the system again, he finds another surprise. All his class skills have converted into passive abilities and already leveled up on their own. His healing factor evolved too. It now repairs his body automatically without him needing to do anything. While it seems overpowered as hell, it isn't unlimited, otherwise he wouldn't have died in his past life. To test it out, he grabs a blade and lightly cuts his arm. Within seconds, the wound vanishes without leaving a single trace. Their smile appears on his face. He knows how broken this ability is. To put it into perspective, it's so broken that our boy now thinks he can graduate from the academy in 2 years, even though it usually takes 5, and for good reason. Draker Academy is basically the Harvard of night schools. Everyone and their mum wants to get in. Every semester, Troy City gets flooded with fresh meat, hoping to make it big. Our boy Zeke walks through campus, sizing everyone up. And yeah, the upperclassmen are walking around like they own the place, acting mature and capable. But compared to the absolute monsters from the cradle, these kids are just trust fund babies playing dress-up with swords. Zeke looks at all this, thinking, man, my family is seriously messed up. Now let me break down the power structure real quick. There are 3 main branch families backing the Draker lineage, and they're kind of a big deal. First, you've got the Turin family. These guys are all about raw strength, and that's Raina's squad. Then there's the Zimmons family, the big-brain strategists who run on wisdom and planning. And finally, the Vardek, the Lannisters of this fantasy world. All their heirs are at the academy, but Zeke couldn't care less about any of them. Cut to this fancy dorm called Platinum Mansion. We're talking top-tier training halls, libraries and facilities, but those fancy things are for the peasants. Pure-blood awakeners like Zeke get the VIP treatment with the title of Floor Master, which basically means they run the entire Platinum floor. When Zeke rolls up, a maid greets him and takes him to his area, where a crowd is already waiting. The man is exhausted just looking at them. Despite being this prestigious pure-blood awakener, he immediately gets told that Decker, his butler, needs to see him in another room. So he's like, all right, what does this guy want now? Decker shows him some premium gloves, the same kind he got when he first awakened. Zeke already has a new pair though, so he's not impressed. What he really wants is a sword. Decker is totally on board, because Troy is right next to mountain ranges that are basically treasure troves of high-quality iron, and the craftsmen there are absolute legends. These guys are basically the backbone of the Academy's night program. Decker offers to hook him up with a skilled craftsman, but Zeke says, nah, I've got this. He wants to handle it personally and asks Decker to just set up an appointment. When he drops the name Galleon Halbert, even Decker is like, who the hell is that? This craftsman is so mysterious that literally nobody has heard of him, but Zeke is determined to meet him anyway. Before leaving, Decker reminds him to actually read the Academy documents before class tomorrow, because, you know, that might be important. Later that night, Zeke is grinding through his notes when he has a light bulb moment. The entire Platinum floor is his, all of it, which means he has the perfect space to train his draconian skills without anyone bothering him. Just then, a maid enters and tells him Raina wants him to come to dinner. Zeke is caught off guard but figures, why not? Free food and all that. When he gets to Reflora, though, he walks into what looks like a scene straight out of The Godfather. Raina is there smirking, apologizing for the dramatic setup, but Zeke is just vibing with it. They agree to eat first and talk business later. While they're eating, Zeke isn't just chowing down. He's analyzing her. Even during a casual dinner, this girl is channeling aura into her lower abdomen. Our boy immediately connects the dots. She's aiming for purple knight status. If that's the case, it makes total sense why her swordsmanship is already maxed out. In his head, he's thinking she could be doing way more with that kind of potential. By the time they finish, Zeke is low-key impressed and maybe a little intimidated by how much more Reina ate than him. But now that the food coma is setting in, she's ready to reveal the real reason she invited him. Reina straight up offers him the full backing of the Turan family. Zeke is like, hold up, we're both pure-blood awakeners though. But he shuts that down real quick, telling him he's got it twisted. Sure, being a pure-blood awakener comes with perks, the platinum floor, the prestige, and all that good stuff. But while regular students get access to centuries of knowledge, personal instructors, and structured training programs, purebloods are basically left to figure everything out on their own. Without proper support, even the most talented awakeners can end up falling behind. To prove her point, she brings up Abel Draker, a pureblood from their family who became a white knight at the youngest age ever recorded. Now he's one of the strongest black knights around, and even he needed the Zimmons family backing him up. Then she drops the bomb. The Turan family patriarch gave her direct orders to extend their full support to Zeke. She's sitting there expecting him to see reason and accept this incredible opportunity. But our boy Zeke, he just calmly says, "Nah, I'm good." Reina is absolutely shook. She cannot comprehend how anyone would turn down this kind of deal. Zeke gets up and makes it crystal clear he's not interested in alliances, politics, or any of that drama. As far as he's concerned, being a pure-blood awakener is one thing, but all this family politics nonsense is not his problem. And with that, he just walks out, leaving Reina sitting there like, did this dude really just reject me? But because Zeke isn't a complete jerk, he decides to throw her a bone for the free meal. He tells her that her sword is too powerful, probably because of all those people backing her. But that's not where her real strength is. Her actual talent, adaptability. Instead of just smashing through opponents with brute force, she should focus on using her fluid movements to redirect attacks, then strike with one precise hit when an opening appears. If she masters that approach, she'll blast past her current limits easily. Then he leaves, leaving Reina absolutely frustrated. Her whole life, she's been grinding under the weight of her family's legacy of raw strength, training her ass off to live up to the Turun name. But Zeke is actually right. Nobody has ever given her real advice before. Since she was a kid, everyone just called her a genius and left it at that. Praised, but never actually guided. And now this random guy just casually dropped wisdom on her and walked away like it was nothing. This whole interaction makes Reina rethink her entire opinion of Zeke Draker. Meanwhile, our boy is having his own main character moment. His growth has been absolutely cracked. He trained all night and isn't even slightly tired. With infinite stamina, the man is literally built different now, far beyond anything he could have dreamed of in his past life. Back then, this academy was straight up hell for him. But now, he's actually vibing with it, enjoying some rare peace and quiet. Of course, that peace gets shattered real quick. Owen Zimmons, the third son of the Zimmons family, suddenly rolls up on him. And let me tell you about this snake. In Zeke's previous life, Owen was a master manipulator, the kind of scumbag who blackmailed and bullied him non-stop. Just like before, he had sent Zeke a dinner invitation. And just like before, Zeke left him on red. The weird part? This time, Owen is acting way too friendly, like suspiciously friendly. Zeke immediately knows what invitation he's talking about and hits him with a sharp comeback. Owen asks, "Why didn't you reply to my message?" And Zeke coolly shoots back that he doesn't give a about pointless messages. This blunt response catches the attention of Owen's little sidekick, who thinks Zeke is being unnecessarily rude. But Zeke isn't here to play nice. He hits the guy with the classic, "Who the hell are you?" And he doesn't even bother remembering his name. As far as Zeke is concerned, this dude is just another bootlicker trying to score points with Owen. Apparently, that is enough to make Homeboy snap. Without warning, he launches an attack at Zeke. But our boy is ready. He blocks the strike instantly, even though it's backed by aura manipulation. This clown roars out his name, Durbin Roswell, declaring himself the mightiest of them all. Zeke can't help laughing at how absurd this is. This guy isn't even a knight, barely even a cadet, and he's acting tough. Not wasting another second, Zeke blitzes forward with insane speed and delivers a hook to Durbin's gut. That would make Mike Tyson proud. The impact sends this fool face-planting into the ground. Without missing a beat, Zeke casually invites the next Zimon's lackey to step up and get humbled. Owen just walks forward, acting unimpressed, saying he isn't wowed by Zeke flexing his strength. The group eventually leaves, but to Zeke they're nothing more than a traveling circus act. Now let me break down how Regressor Academy actually works. The school is split into two classes. First, there is the normal class. This is for cadets who lack natural talent but are willing to grind through sheer effort and discipline. It's tough but straightforward. Then there's the special class, where the more capable students get to pick specialized subjects beyond the basics. This is where all the academy's elites gather, the supposed cream of the crop. Zeke had high expectations for who would end up here, but as he scans the room, massive disappointment. None of them are particularly impressive. In fact, most of them are just alumni from the cradle, people he already knows. He can't help joking to himself that this isn't a special class. It's just Cradle Class 2.0. Class finally starts, and the instructor has a big announcement. Today, they have a special guest, a man who once held the title of Commander-in-Chief of the Empire, a war strategist who, 2 decades ago, supposedly blocked an imperial invasion through pure tactical brilliance. The man who runs this entire academy is Dean Howard Regressor. The room welcomes him with wild enthusiasm. He's a war hero, a symbol of hope, and a tactical mastermind whose name is praised throughout the Empire. But Zeke knows the real truth. Howard Regressor is no hero, he's a fraud. The only reason he saved the Empire was because he leaked critical information to the enemy just to save himself. Pure dumb luck let him escape unscathed, and now he's basking in undeserved glory. Zeke absolutely despises this man. Howard is the reason Zeke got expelled from the academy in his past life. After that, with nowhere to go, he wandered the streets of Troy completely lost, until slave traders grabbed him and sold him to the Southern Cartel. This man's entire existence is a reminder of the worst chapter in Zeke's life, and someday Zeke is going to make him pay for it. For now, though, Howard wraps up his speech, and the teacher steps in to actually begin the lesson. The cadets are summoned to the arena for an indoor training session, and Zeke is less than thrilled. He's expected to sit through the basics of dragon slaying, something that frustrated the hell out of him in his past life. Back then, he couldn't wield aura and wasted 2 years on what should have taken 3 months max. Their instructor introduces himself as the Rose Knight, Regressor. The students aren't impressed since they don't recognize his name, but Zeke does. Andre wasn't born into an Awakener bloodline, yet he graduated as Valhalla Academy's valedictorian. His raw talent earned him the prestigious Drake name despite having 0 family ties. In short, this guy is the definition of someone you should worry about. Zeke also remembers that while the special class instructors vary in skill, Andre is infamous for having a terrible attitude. Andre gets straight to business, telling the cadets to draw their swords. His gaze immediately locks onto Zeke's weapon. It's massive compared to everyone else's, yet Zeke wields it like it weighs nothing. Andre, unimpressed, calls him into the arena, assuming the oversized sword is just arrogance on display. That's exactly what Zeke wanted. He boldly claims he could defeat the instructor with it, an open provocation that visibly pisses Andre off. The tension gets so thick it actually triggers Zeke's system, activating a mental defense skill. Amused by the challenge, Andre decides to give our boy a practical lesson. He even sets conditions. If Zeke wins, he gets complete freedom in class. To make things fair, Andre promises he'll hold back and won't use aura. And if this rude so much as manages to touch him with his sword, Andre will consider it Zeke's victory. Pull that off and he'll be exempt from all punishments. Plus, he won't have to come to the basic class either. Now look, everyone expects our boy to get absolutely bodied by this genius instructor Andre, right? But Zeke knows this dude's weaknesses and is actually confident he can exploit them. The problem is that his creepy, watchful brother is somewhere in the shadows, and Zeke doesn't want to go full main character mode just yet. So what's the plan? Simple. Land one clean cut on Andre's uniform to flex on him, then take the loss like a good little cadet and keep his cover intact. The fight starts, and Zeke immediately goes for the throat. But Andre casually deflects it like he's swatting a fly, showing off those fancy blue knight skills. But it does nothing, so Zeke switches it up and starts zipping around, attacking from every angle imaginable. But no matter what he does, Andre blocks everything with annoyingly perfect precision. The other cadets just stand there with their mouths open, watching Zeke go at it for a full 30 minutes without stopping. But here's where it gets interesting. Andre is starting to struggle. His grip is getting tighter, his blade is shaking, and you can see exhaustion setting in. He is genuinely confused about how Zeke is still moving around, not even breathing hard. Even though Andre is holding back his power, this fight is way harder than it should be. And that's when it hits everyone watching. Pure-blooded Draker Awakeners are just built different. It's almost unfair how much stamina these freaks have compared to normal people. Meanwhile, Zeke is over here playing four-dimensional chess, exploiting Andre's one fatal flaw stamina. See, the Draker family's aura cultivation is always active, even while they're sleeping. For someone like Andre, who married into the family and isn't a natural-born Draker, suppressing that aura feels wrong and actively weakens him. And our boy Zeke is milking this weakness for everything it's worth. Andre blocks another attack, but Zeke refuses to just lose normally. His pride is screaming at him that he can't take this, so he completely changes strategies, stops trying to create openings, and instead goes for an Alornathing move that will force Andre to stop holding back. Suddenly, Zeke backflips, then launches forward at absolutely insane speed. It's swift step, an advanced movement technique cadets shouldn't even know. Andre barely has time to process what's happening before Zeke is already in his blind spot. Then, in one fluid motion, Zeke activates Critical Strike, dumping every ounce of power into this one attack. For the first time, Andre hesitates, because what the actual... A cadet shouldn't be pulling off techniques like this. But in that split second before impact, his survival instincts kick in, and he channels just a tiny bit of aura into his feet, dodging at lightning speed. Then he immediately counters with Sky Slice, and oh boy, Zeke goes flying across the arena. His sword straight up cracks, and the impact is so severe that even his busted healing factor kicks in. But despite regenerating, his body basically says, "Nah, I'm done." And he faceplants onto the arena floor. Andre sheathes his sword, looking pissed off, and officially announces that Zeke is exempt from the class. Then he asks if anyone else wants to challenge him, and after watching Zeke get launched into orbit, yeah, nobody is that stupid. The lesson continues for everyone else, while Zeke gets carried off to the infirmary like a sack of potatoes. Lying in the infirmary bed, Zeke thinks back on the fight. Sure, his original plan to slice Andre's uniform failed spectacularly, but forcing the instructor to actually use aura, that's an even bigger W. He made Andre acknowledge his strength, which honestly wasn't even part of the plan. The final attack, Sky Slice, was literally the most basic technique in the dragon-slaying arts. But when a Blue Knight amps it up with their power, absolutely devastating. Still, Zeke held his own. His unlimited stamina and broken healing factor kept him standing against someone way above his level. But he knows that's not going to cut it long-term. If he wants true freedom, he needs absolute power. The kind of power where even people above him can't touch him. While he's having this whole internal monologue, some random drunkard stumbles into the room. And I mean stumbles. This man reeks of alcohol and seems weirdly interested in Zeke. What's even more concerning, Zeke never sensed him coming. The last thing he expected to see in the infirmary was some drunk But things get even weirder when this guy casually starts talking the Draker family patriarch. Zeke tries to figure out who this guy is, but the man's too busy chugging booze like it's water. Then, out of nowhere, he questions Zeke about his rapid regeneration, clearly aware of his unnatural healing ability. Immediately, alarm bells start going off in Zeke's head. The Academy shouldn't know about this. His system activates mental defense on autopilot. Playing it cool, Zeke acts confused and pretends he has no idea what this weirdo is talking about. But the stranger isn't buying it. Without any warning, he lunges at Zeke with a palm strike, sharp enough to slice clean through the bed. Zeke quickly dodges, now thinking this guy might actually be an assassin sent to kill him. Thinking fast, he whips the bedsheet at this lunatic to blind him, hoping to get some breathing room. But the sense of danger only gets worse, so Zeke says screw it and goes all in. He activates every skill he's got and launches an all-out attack. Yet despite being blinded by the sheet, this man effortlessly catches Zeke's blade mid-swing like it's nothing. But instead of finishing him off, he just smirks and praises Zeke's quick thinking and adaptability. Zeke stumbles back, confused and suspicious about what the man just said. Mercenary? What the hell does he mean by that? Who is this drunker? Now our boy's getting paranoid as hell, thinking, wait, does this drunk sir know him a reincarnator? Meanwhile, the stranger is just staring at him, watching this so-called Draker knight literally yeet his sword away to save his own skin. The guy scoffs like, yeah, you'd make a way better mercenary than a knight, dumbass. That's when Zeke realizes this dude sees right through him. And to make things worse, Zeke knows there is no way he's winning against him. The power gap between them is just too massive. If this man wanted him dead, Zeke wouldn't even get to beg for his life. It would be instant game over. This dude is at least on par with the Red Knight, maybe even stronger. Then the stranger glances at Zeke's massive claymore and casually roasts him, saying he probably grabbed that heavy-ass thing from the Academy's discount weapon pile. With Zeke's actual talent, wielding such a basic sword is straight-up wasteful. The way this guy talks, so dismissive yet so accurate, makes Zeke realize something terrifying. This man is way stronger than he first thought. Before Zeke can spiral further into his existential crisis, Andre walks in, asking our boy why this Kawasik is here. Zeke's like, bro, do you know who this is? Andre nods, saying that drunk Warsas is the garden keeper, Dexter. Zeke's brain is literally blue screening right now. He's just wondering how the hell the Academy even employs this guy. Meanwhile, Dexter just smirks and asks Andre how he tracked him down. Andre shrugs, saying he spotted him lurking in the training room earlier. Then he turns to Zeke with zero chill and says, if you're healed up, get the out. And Zeke had no intention of staying there, so he does as he's told and awkwardly starts backing away. But Dexter suddenly stops him, making Zeke an offer. If he actually wants to learn something worthwhile, he should swing by the Academy's western greenhouse. There's this awkward silence, and then Zeke, being the arrogant whelp he is, just straight up says no and walks away. After leaving the room, Zeke starts connecting the dots, because nothing about this situation makes sense. If this gardener can talk so casually about Arthur, the Draker family patriarch, then there's only one possible explanation. Dexter isn't just some mysterious side character. As the legendary Duke Draker, the Gale Knight. The realization smacks Zeke in the face like a brick. This is the same absolute madman who once took on an entire kingdom solo. One of the rare knights who can wield martial force. A warrior so chaotic that he allegedly became a Black Knight just because he thought it looked cool. And despite his insane reputation, the guy just vanished and decided to cosplay as a gardener at some random academy. Zeke glances back at Andre, thinking maybe he ended up here because of Dexter too. But honestly, none of that matters to Zeke right now. He's not interested in some basic training montage with starter techniques. If he's going to learn from Dexter, it won't be for small fry moves. It has to be the man's ultimate technique. Cut to the Magic Academy. Professor Fanon is awkwardly trying to lecture a room full of corpses. I mean students. Any questions, he asks, fully expecting that no one was paying attention. And yeah, the entire class is either passed out or mentally checked out. It's depressing as hell, but he soldiers on. Then, like a miracle from the heavens, a single hand goes up. It's Zeke, asking about the mana energy transfer law Fanon just mentioned. Fanon's whole demeanor does a complete 180. The man's eyes light up. It's been ages since a student actually gave a hakas about his class. He eagerly breaks down the concept in detail, making sure Zeke fully understands, probably holding back tears of joy the whole time. After class, the other students are king about how theoretical and boring the subject is, treating it like mandatory nap time. But Zeke, he found it ridiculously easy to grasp and now realizes something. This guy Fanon is actually competent as hell. As Zeke's about to leave, Fanon stops him. With genuine emotion, he thanks Zeke for actually being curious and engaged. It's been forever since he's taught a passionate student. He even offers to be available anytime Zeke has questions. Then he drops this bombshell. He's still an alumnus of Delo, a magic university, literally the birthplace of modern magic. That catches Zeke's attention. He hadn't expected this awkward professor to have such a stacked resume. Deciding there's no downside to having a skilled mage in his corner, Zeke accepts. In his mind, mages who are good at math tend to be smart as hell. Better to have a clever magic user as an ally than another stuck-up knight. He figures Fanon might come in handy later. The second Zeke steps outside, his thoughts get interrupted. Dexter is waiting there, and judging by his expression, his patience has completely evaporated. Finally done, Dexter asks, arms crossed, looking annoyed as hell. Before Zeke can even respond, Dexter cuts him off. Why the hell didn't you show up at the greenhouse? Clearly, he expected Zeke to take the hint when he offered to teach him earlier. But Zeke just shrugs and bluntly repeats himself. He's not interested. Dexter's irritation skyrockets. He starts acting like a whiny child throwing a tantrum. Zeke stands firm. He acknowledges that Dexter isn't just some random NPC, but he's too focused on his own training grind right now to deal with this. Dexter seems to accept it until he doesn't. Without warning, the man just vanishes from Zeke's sight. Before our boy can even process what just happened, he feels a sharp impact, and everything goes black. When Zeke finally wakes up, he's somewhere completely different. Blinking, he looks around. The western greenhouse. And Dexter is just standing there, looking relieved. Finally awake, Zeke crosses his arms deadpan. You realize this is literally kidnapping, right? Dexter, completely unfazed, just shrugs. Yeah, I know. And he smirks, making it crystal clear he's openly interested in Zeke and isn't even trying to hide it anymore. Zero patience whatsoever, Zeke thinks. But he's not sticking around for this bull. Without hesitation, he activates swift steps and bolts for the exit. Or at least, he tries to. In literally the blink of an eye, Dexter is in front of him, blocking his escape route. Annoyed, but not giving up, Zeke makes another run for it, only to fail again. Dexter effortlessly keeps up, shutting down every escape attempt like he's playing with a toddler. Not wanting to be treated like some helpless kid, Zeke switches tactics. The smirk, he teases, "What is it about me that's got you so obsessed, huh?" Dexter doesn't even hesitate. "That crazy healing ability of yours." Zeke grins. "So that's what this is about." He decides to push it further. "Well then, if you want answers, you'll have to beat them out of me." Dexter vanishes. Zeke tenses, eyes darting everywhere. Where did he? A sword comes whistling through the air, aimed straight at his back. He barely catches it in time. Gripping the weapon, he narrows his eyes. "What the hell are you trying to prove?" Dexter tells him he's doing exactly what Zeke asked. He wants answers, and if he wants, he can easily beat them out of him. But that would be boring. So he lays out the terms. If Zeke can land even one strike on his clothes, he wins. But if he doesn't, hell have to tell him everything. The scene shifts. And at this point, our boy has been throwing hands with Dexter for hours now. And let me tell you, it's not going well. Every punch, every strike, every move, this man dodges it all like he's got cheat codes enabled. Zeke has infinite stamina and regeneration, so he just keeps coming back like a Dark Souls boss, but my guy still can't land a single hit. Dexter is starting to notice something's off, though. This isn't just some kid with good cardio. Bro's injuries are healing in real time, and he refuses to stay down. But Zeke knows what's up. Stamina alone isn't winning this fight. He needs to pull out the big guns. That's when he remembers Might of the Dragon. This insanely OP skill he's been too scared to use because it's risky as hell. But looking at Dexter, yeah, no more playing it safe. Our boy activates it, and immediately his whole vibe changes. Purple energy starts crackling around him. Swift steps kicks in, and suddenly he's moving way faster and sharper than before. Dexter notices the upgrade and goes, "Not bad, but I've fought faster, trying to stay cool." But then he sees Zeke's eyes, and it's not just determination anymore. There's something absolutely feral in there. Dexter is low-key impressed and decides to humor him by activating a bit of his own aura. Big mistake. The second he does, Zeke unleashes the full might of the dragon and actually catches him off guard. Dexter manages to break Zeke's sword and push him back. But he's genuinely confused because what the hell just happened? Using the dust cloud as cover, Dexter figures Zeke must have used some vision trick and assumes he's hidden now. Wrong. Zeke has Dragon Eyes active, locks onto him through the smoke, and strikes from behind, finally landing a hit. But then Dexter just vanishes, like completely disappears. Zeke is standing there like, "Wait, what?" And then it clicks. This must be the Duke's secret move, some teleportation ability that creates wind gusts. That's why they call him the Gale Knight. Before Zeke can process any of this, Dexter appears behind him, calls the fight a draw, and proceeds to absolutely demolish him anyway. System immediately starts screaming alerts at Zeke, saying his body has hit its limit from skill spam. His consciousness is shutting down, whether he likes it or not, and he passes out on the spot. Cut to hours later, Zeke wakes up in his room. Dexter probably carried him back. He's mad about losing, but also realistic. Black Knight was always going to win this. He thinks back on his strategy. He kept repeating the same attacks to make Dexter lower his guard, then switched it up at the last second with the dragon's full power. Even with all that planning, he barely got one hit in. And that move Dexter pulled at the end was definitely his trump card. Zeke's kicking himself for overusing his dragon skills because if he'd stayed conscious longer, he could have learned more. But at least he saw that secret technique in action. The same ridiculous speed and honed physique that helped Andre climb the ranks despite having trash stamina. The real win here, though? Might of the Dragon was strong enough to make a Black Knight hesitate. Against weaker opponents, they're getting cooked. No contest. Then Zeke gets a system notification. Swift steps leveled up. But that's not even the crazy part. His soul developed, and he unlocked new system functions. He can buy with karma points. He scrolls through and sees a minimap. Inventory and quest book all available. After checking everything out, he decides to unlock the inventory first. The system explains it's basically magic storage. Think of an item's name or shape and boom, it appears or disappears. Zeke tests it with his claymore. One thought, and the sword vanishes into the inventory window. Other thought, and it's back in his hand. He thought it would be basic storage, but this is actually insane. In his past life, he struggled so hard to keep valuable artifacts safe. If only he had this back then. Apparently he can expand the storage with more karma points too, and the wildest part. This whole thing is just a low-rank administrator skill. Man's already wondering what ungodly powers unlock at high rank. Realizing karma points are valuable as hell, Zeke decides to spend them carefully. But before he can plan anything, there's a knock. Dexter walks in with a message, and when he mentions it's from the garden keeper, Zeke smiles. His efforts paid off. Reading the invitation, Dexter tells him he can come back for a rematch whenever. Zeke is hyped because Dexter called their fight a draw before beating his ass, which means there's still a chance to prove himself. Before leaving, Dexter drops one more update. He found the blacksmith Zeke mentioned, but when Zeke asks about setting up an appointment, Dexter awkwardly admits it didn't go well. The blacksmith straight up refused. Zeke is shocked to hear the man's completely given up on forging weapons. The next day, Zeke decides it's time to hit up the blacksmith himself. So there he is, standing at the same shop he used to visit in his past life. The second he sees that busted old sign, nostalgia hits him like a truck. He walks in and immediately starts thinking about his legendary sword from back in the day, the Radiance of Graham. That thing was an absolute beast, forged by Galleon, the exact dude he's here to see now. In his past life, this blacksmith made it as a thank you gift for Zeke saving his ass. But Galleon wasn't just some random guy who bangs hammers all day. Nah, man earned the title Blacksmith of the Soul because he could literally read your soul and craft the perfect weapon specifically for you. Zeke never questioned it back then. Galleon made exactly what he needed, a sword that could swap ether for aura, which was absolutely cracked. This man was literally called the greatest blacksmith on the entire continent. So seeing him now looking like he crawled out of a dumpster, Zeke is shook. Galleon's clearly wasted out of his mind. He barely even looks up before telling Zeke to piss off. This isn't a shop for kids, he mumbles. Zeke expected some attitude, sure, but this level of hostility? Something definitely went down before they met in the original timeline. Without even thinking twice, Zeke grabs a bucket of water and straight up drenches this drunk. Galleon shoots up like he got electrocuted, and Zeke is standing there smirking like, "You awake now?" demanding to know why he's being rejected. The second Galleon actually notices the Draker logo on our boy's gloves. His whole energy does a complete 180. The man goes into full panic mode and starts bowing and apologizing, saying he's not worthy to forge weapons anymore. If I can't even create what I want, how the hell am I supposed to make something for others? That's why he stopped taking commissions entirely. Zeke is caught completely off guard. Even someone as legendary as Galleon had a whole mental breakdown arc. In his past life, the blacksmith probably never mentioned this, too embarrassed to admit he failed at something. But Zeke doesn't have time for this therapy session. As Galleon keeps spiraling into his feelings, Zeke snaps him out of it. The blacksmith hesitates, then apologizes again for being earlier. Zeke waves it off and demands to see these so-called failed weapons. After a pause, Galleon sighs and leads him to the back. Seeing him like this, Zeke realizes he's got to help this man find himself again or whatever. Stepping into the backyard, Galleon awkwardly apologizes for the mess, but Zeke brushes it off, saying it actually looks pretty cool. As he starts checking out the weapons, Galleon warns him they're still sharp. But when Zeke inspects them more closely, something surprising hits him. These weapons aren't failures at all. They're just as high quality as the ones Galleon forged back when he was considered the absolute GOAT. He activates Dragon Eyes to look deeper and immediately spots the problem. He turns to Galleon and asks straight up, "You're having issues with your brazier, aren't you?" Galleon looks absolutely stunned. This kid figured it out that fast. Then Zeke points out something else. Galleon is using this unique smelting method where he mixes different metals to create material that's both lighter and stronger. To prove his point, Zeke casually snaps one of the failed swords clean in half. Pathetic durability. The real problem isn't the technique itself, it's the impurities. Galleon isn't removing them properly, which is why the whole structure is weak as hell. The blacksmith is completely speechless. This kid just saw through his entire forging process in literal seconds and identified the exact flaws with zero effort. After a moment of stunned silence, Galleon suddenly speaks up. "I know this might sound weird, but I've got a request." Back inside, he pulls out a blueprint and slaps it right in front of Zeke. The blueprint for the magic brazier. Zeke recognizes it instantly from his past life. This was the exact design that let Galleon perfect his craft. Back then, the blacksmith trusted him enough to share his greatest secret. History is literally repeating itself right now. Zeke examines the design and immediately gets it. If Galleon completes this brazier, his smelting process will be absolutely flawless. But something's off. If you already have the blueprint, why haven't you built it yet? Galleon sighs. In missing the most important component, the magic core, and the commission fee is 10,000 gold coins. Zeke's eyes go wide because that's absolutely insane. For context, even an average family only spends around 10 gold per month. This is 1,000 times that. No wonder it took Galleon a whole decade to reach the top in his past life. Galleon knows his request sounds batshit crazy, but he's desperate as hell since Zeke is a Draker and a pure-blooded awakener. Maybe he can help get the core. In return, the blacksmith makes a bold offer. If Zeke helps him out, he'll forge any weapon he wants, completely free for as long as he lives. Zeke thinks about it and quickly realizes the problem. It's practically impossible. He is not the family's guardian knight, so there's no way he can gather that ridiculous amount of money. But he needs Graham, the Sword of Radiance, which means he's got to find a way somehow. The issue is tied to mana energy laws, and suddenly an idea hits him. A crazy one. Without hesitation, he accepts Galleon's request and takes the blueprint. The blacksmith looks doubtful as hell, but Zeke confidently tells him he knows a mage who might help. As he turns to leave, he orders the blacksmith to stop drinking his life away. Instead of arguing, Galleon suddenly drops to his knees with the best puppy dog eyes you've ever seen, telling our boy that if he truly does this, hell'll serve him for life. Cut to the Draker Academy Professional Research Building. Zeke arrives still absolutely fuming. These Mage Tower scumbags set the price outrageously high out of pure greed, and he knows it. Walking through the halls, he remembers Fanon's major was related to this exact field. If he can find Fanon's research lab, he might find a workaround. While searching, something in a nearby alley catches his attention. Some kids are getting absolutely demolished by bullies, crying and begging for mercy. The boy is completely powerless to fight back. Zeke grits his teeth. This scene, I've seen it before. His past life flashes before his eyes. This exact situation played out back then too. Clenching his fists in frustration, he changes course and heads straight for the alley. The leader, Leon, sneers down at his victim. "You're worthless," he spits. Venting his own frustrations on someone weaker, his anger isn't even about this kid. He's still bitter over losing his physique to Zeke. Taking it out on someone who cannot fight back makes him feel in control again. As he stomps the kid's head into the ground, Leon snarls, "That wasn't a real fight. That was a cheap shot, pure luck. He refuses to believe Zeke has any right to be called a pure-blooded awakener. Seeing this, our boy gets pissed and tells these heirs they better get on their knees if they value their lives. But folks, what do you know? This, Leon still can't accept reality. He's out here doubting whether Zeke's awakening is even legit. But Zeke, man, he's not entertaining this clown's bull tour. His voice gets ice cold as he goes, "Bow down right now or you're done for." And then this absolutely terrifying pressure just washes over the whole alley. Leon straight up freezes like his body just hit pause. Cold sweat pours down his face because he feels this paralyzing fear gripping him. He's thinking, why the hell does Zeke feel so scary right now? Just a few months back, this dude was literally a joke, a complete nobody. But standing here now, he's a completely different person. Leon grits his teeth, his pride getting absolutely demolished. He calls Zeke some inferior piece of trash and orders his goons to jump him all at once because that's what smart people do, right? Zeke doesn't even break a sweat. Some dude throws a punch at him, but dodges it easily while giving them one last warning. Then boom, he just starts dismantling the entire squad. The first guy drops instantly. The next one barely processes what's happening before he's eating dirt. Another moron comes flying at Zeke, and our boy just catches him mid-air and yeets him backward like a bag of trash. In literal seconds, the whole gang is laid out on the ground, groaning in pain. Leon is watching this, sweating bullets and thinking, is this really the same Zeke? Our protagonist walks up to him with the keyest grin you've ever seen and goes, "Relax, it's only going to hurt for a second." Leon is terrified out of his mind. He stumbles back and pulls out his sword, shouting, "Stay away from me. I swear I'll cut you if you come closer." With his hands shaking like crazy, Zeke's expression darkens and he calmly reminds this idiot about the rules. Drawing a weapon inside the training area has serious consequences. Leon's breath catches because he panicked so hard he completely forgot about that. Now he's trapped in his own mess like the dumbass he is. But Zeke doesn't let him off easy. He pulls out his own sword and says that according to Academy law, their fight won't end until one of them is dead. Whoever draws first takes full responsibility for whatever happens. No one will blame the other. To make it official, Zeke points at Liam and makes him their witness. Just as he's about to start, Leon completely loses it. This bully drops to his knees and throws all his pride out the window, begging for mercy like a little lay. Zeke stares down at him, memories from his past life flashing through his mind. He calls Leon a trashy scumbag, and then, boom, slashes and takes only his ear. Leon screams, clutching the bleeding wound, but Zeke isn't done. He grabs this anicaps by the hair and tells him, "Don't even think about reattaching it. If I see you with both ears again, I won't stop there next time." As he leaves, Liam asks our boy, "Why? Why did you help me?" Zeke brushes it off. "I wasn't helping you, I was helping myself." As he walks away, this weird thought pops into his head. Was it Galleon? Did the blacksmith's words actually get to him? He shakes his head and pushes the thought away. Finally, he reaches his destination and finds Professor Fanon. He gives him the blueprint. Without wasting time, Zeke asks if his request is even possible. Fanon gives him a straight answer. It's doable. Relieved, Zeke is about to leave when Fanon stops him. "Hold up, you have to listen first." He explains that while the overall design isn't too complicated, the core is the real issue. The core is basically the heart of the machine. It controls the power output. But because of the circuit's weird restrictions, it needs a massive amount of energy despite being tiny. The real problem, they also have to adjust the energy output in real time, or the whole thing becomes useless. Zeke processes all this and asks, "So is there actually a way to make it?" Fanon nods. There are two options. The first is completely redesigning the core, but that would take a decade, maybe even 15 years. Zeke's jaw drops. 15 years? Fanon sighs and repeats, "It would take forever." Then he mentions the second method, one that lets them skip redesigning the core by using a different material. This would save them years, but there's a catch. They need a high-compression mana stone. The second Zeke hears that, he jolts up. You can't be serious. He knows exactly what that is, an ancient artifact so rare that even modern tech can't make it. Fanon confirms it. Yep, and finding one in a ruin is basically impossible. If we want a stone that actually works with this design, it'll cost 3,000 gold. Zeke just goes silent. 3,000 gold. He barely wrapped his head around needing 10,000 for the magic brazier, and now this. He just stands there completely overwhelmed. 15 years is obviously not happening, but 3,000 gold isn't exactly pocket change. And to make things worse, if anyone finds out he can actually use aura, he'll get kicked out of the academy immediately. Everyone thinks he can wield aura because of what went down at the blessing ceremony. But the truth is, it was all smoke and mirrors. A trick using his ether and healing abilities. No matter how hard he tries, he straight up can't use aura. Unlike ether, which normal humans can't control at all, aura is way more common. That's why Graham, the Sword of Radiance, is absolutely crucial. Without it, his whole future is screwed. While Zeke is lost in thought, Fanon is still geeking out over the blueprint. Whoever designed this is an absolute genius. The efficiency is insane. Even among relics from the Golden Age, this level of skill is super rare. That's when it hits him. Zeke's eyes widen as an idea forms. He stands up without hesitation. Professor, just focus on refining the design. I'll handle the rest. And with that, he heads out to find his own solution. Fanon looks confused as hell. Wait, are you telling me to spend 15 years reworking this? Zeke shakes his head. Nah, no need for that. I'm bringing you one. With total confidence, he says he knows exactly how to get his hands on a high-compression mana stone. The professor just stands there with his jaw on the floor, completely speechless. Meanwhile, Zeke's brain is already racing, thinking back to all the history behind these relics. So get this, way back in the Golden Age, magic was absolutely cracked, like peak civilization type beat. But then humanity said, dragons. We're done being their haze and started this whole-ass liberation war. The war finally ended when Turakan murdered Bahamut, the evil dragon overlord. After that, humanity chilled for a whole century, living their best lives. But the dragon lairs they left behind were loaded with remnants from that golden era. These ancient relics, called the Hero King's remnants, were so advanced that modern humans can't even figure out how to recreate them. And among all that treasure, the high-compression mana stone, a relic so powerful it could provide energy for an entire village, is the prize our boy is hunting for. Cut to Draker Academy's central library, and Zeke is walking into a place that's basically abandoned at this point. Nobody uses it anymore, but it's still kept clean and maintained because apparently the legendary hero Turakan Draker himself built it decades ago, so it has historical significance, you know? Zeke thinks back to his past life, remembering how during the Academy's record room expansions, they uncovered a bunch of Golden Age relics. The Magic Tower and the Archmage of Nirvana came running, and the discovery sent shockwaves across the entire continent. But that was in his past life. Right now, these relics should still be sitting here untouched, just waiting for him. He starts searching through this massive library, but obviously he doesn't find anything immediately. I mean, if these relics were just sitting out in the open, someone would have snagged them ages ago. So Zeke activates his dragon eyes and scans the room like he's got thermal vision or something. Finally, he spots it, this one weird tile that doesn't match the rest. He walks up to it and taps it, checking for hidden mechanisms like he's in some Indiana Jones movie. Then he enables Spirit of the Soul, remembering what his master taught him way back. Basically, it can materialize and let you apply different properties like cutting or impact. Sounds OP, right? But there's a catch. Ether burns through energy like crazy. Just turning it on is already draining his stamina, and he feels the fatigue kicking in. But our boy doesn't have time to rest, so he just pushes through and steps into the opening behind the tile. Now he's inside this hidden cave, and after lighting a fire to see what's going on, he frowns. His thinking, wait, in my past life, these ruins weren't discovered until like a decade later, and I don't remember it being this deep underground. What's going on? Just then, he hears something moving. His heart is pounding, and he's panicking. Like, did someone already find this place before me? He peeks ahead and spots skeletons, but these aren't your regular dead bodies. Nah, these Ongs are moving, holding shovels and pickaxes like they've been digging for something non-stop. Zeke immediately scans them with dragon eyes and confirms they're not controlled by a lich. Good news. That means he can destroy them without dealing with some necromancer. Our boy doesn't waste a second. He activates Critical Strike and charges forward, going full berserker mode and absolutely shattering these undead workers before they even know what hit them. As he's finishing them off, a system notification pops up saying he earned 2 karma points. Zeke grins because in all his excitement about finding the artifact, this absolute genius completely forgot he could farm karma points this whole time. But now that he remembers, oh, his expression gets wicked. This is the perfect opportunity to grind. He pushes forward without hesitation, tearing through 20 more skeletons like their tutorial enemies, racking up points left and right. Once he's satisfied with his haul, he pulls up the system menu to see what he can buy. Unfortunately, almost everything is still locked because he's broke on karma points, but there's one thing he can afford: the minimap. He doesn't even think twice and buys it instantly. The system updates right away, showing his exact location. It looks just like a magic map, which is already pretty sick, but then, and this is where it gets crazy, the minimap shifts into full 3D. Zeke watches in absolute amazement as the entire layout of the ruins appears before him like some next-gen GPS system. Then he notices something wild. One room is highlighted in a completely different color. Curious, he clicks on it and the system labels it as a storage room, even offering to show him the optimal route there. Zeke is just stunned, thinking, hold up. The search party in my past life took days to find the storage room, and I just located it in 5 seconds. This system is absolutely broken. He decides to test it out and follows the system's guidance. And holy, navigating is so easy now. He's thinking there's literally no way he'll ever get lost with this skill equipped. Finally, he arrives at his destination. But of course there's a problem. There's this massive door blocking his way. He frowns and examines it, thinking, yeah, no way this opens with a simple push, but might as well try. The second his hand touches the surface, a surge of magic blasts him backward. His glove literally catches on fire, forcing him to yank his hand back immediately. Zeke stares at his hand, thinking, if I weren't wearing these gloves, my hand would be cooked right now. Now it all makes sense why the Archmage of Nirvana and the Magic Tower came running when this place got discovered in his past life. Realizing he's not going to brute force his way through this door, he turns to the system like, all right, got any ideas? The system connects to the security device and tries to override it, but after a few seconds, it straight up fails. Instead, it activates the manual override. Zeke blinks, confused. Wait, did you just reply to me? And the system goes, affirmative. His eyes go wide because he wasn't expecting an actual conversation here. A crazy thought pops into his head. If the system can talk to him, maybe, just maybe, he can get some real answers. So he immediately fires off the big question, why was I regressed? No response. All right then, who's behind the administrator system? Nothing. Frustrated as hell, he tries one last time. Who created this system? But nope. Annoyed, he gives up. Fine, forget it. Just open the washkak door. The system confirms, and with a low rumbling sound, the entrance to the Dragon Slayer storage room finally unlocks. The second Zeke steps inside, his eyes go wide in pure disbelief. Just like in his past life, there are rows and rows of chests, absolutely packed with priceless relics and treasures. Finding even one of these in some random ruin is nearly impossible. Yet here they are, just sitting here waiting to be claimed. He methodically searches through each chest until he finally spots what he came for. High-compression mana stones. There are 4 in total. Without hesitation, he spends a karma point to expand his inventory and secures one. Unfortunately, his storage is still way too limited to grab everything, so he makes a mental note to come back later when he can claim it all. Just as he's about to bounce, this eerie sensation washes over him. Instinctively, he glances back, and in an instant, glowing magic circles appear all around him. Before he can even react, the spell activates and he gets teleported away. The sudden shift makes him stumble, and as he catches his footing, he quickly scans his surroundings. This place is completely unfamiliar. He turns to the system, demanding answers like, yo, where the hell am I? And the response? He's now inside the home of the Dragon Slayer. Zeke racks his brain, but in his past life, he had never heard of this place existing. The dimly lit room is lined with coffins, which is creepy as hell. He opens his minimap and realizes he's not that far from where he just was. But there's no visible path connecting the two locations. That can only mean one thing. This is an undiscovered hidden area. Seeing this rare opportunity, he rushes to one of the coffins and pries open its heavy concrete lid. Inside is a full set of medieval armor just resting there in silence. The system quickly identifies it as Dragon Slayer exclusive equipment. He lifts the armor up and notices all these scratches and dents, remnants of battles from way back. Something about it feels different from the Golden Age armor he's used to seeing. Then his eyes catch this unusual circular hole on the back, and it clicks instantly. Wait, this must connect to those mana stones I just grabbed. Wasting zero time, Zeke opens his storage and pulls out one of the high-compression mana stones. He's not about to let an opportunity like this slip by. As he slots the ancient relic into place, the system immediately confirms the successful installation of the mana battery. A pulse of energy surges through the armor, and its surface begins to glow as it comes to life. Watching the activation unfold, a grin spreads across Zeke's face, thinking this discovery could change everything. A second later, the armor starts glitching uncontrollably, twitching and convulsing like a malfunctioning robot. Zeke's excitement instantly turns to alarm, and before he can do anything, the entire set explodes, filling the room with thick smoke. The system finally chimes in like, "Oh yeah, an overload caused critical equipment failure." It even mentions it tried to warn him about the explosion, but clearly that message arrived a little too late. The system awkwardly apologizes for the delay, but at least the blast doesn't cause any serious damage to Zeke. On the bright side, though, he confirmed one crucial fact. The high-compression mana stones are the power source for these ancient armors. But that just raises more questions. What kind of insane abilities does this armor have that it needs that much energy? He makes a mental note to ask Professor Fanon about it once he gets out. For now, our boy is done checking out the creepy coffin room and decides to explore the rest of this dungeon. He goes from room to room, and surprise, surprise, they're all completely empty. Finally, he reaches the last room, and at first it looks just as boring as the others. But then he spots something sitting in the middle, a glass cube. The second he looks at it, a system notification pops up, and Zeke just freezes. You can literally see the "oh-key" moment hit him as sweat starts dripping down his face. He's thinking, what kind of psychopath was my ancestor? Because guess what's chilling inside that cube? The heart of Bahamut, the cursed light dragon. Yeah, the OG Draker literally killed this legendary dragon, ripped out its heart and went, you know what? I'll just leave this here for the kids. Like bro, most people leave behind money or a sword, not a cursed dragon heart. No wonder Zeke felt that creepy energy back in the storage room. But compared to what he felt before, this is on a whole different level. Then the system hits him with, the heart of the cursed light dragon is reacting to your presence. And right on cue, dark energy explodes out of nowhere, wrapping around him like some kind of invisible prison. A voice starts whispering in his head. You have no choice. Then it gets louder and angrier, straight up screaming at him. Kill them all. Zeke's vision starts getting blurry. His thoughts are getting twisted and violent, and he's literally losing his mind. Luckily, his indomitable mental defense kicks in and snaps him out of it. He gasps for air, his head pounding like crazy, but something is still wrong. He can feel it. His body feels different, like something is off. Then he notices it. One of his eyes has turned completely black. The dude is just standing there like, well, this can't be good. Before he can even process what just happened, boom, another system notification. This time, it's an urgent quest called Turakan Draker's Test. Basically, he has to defeat the curse inside Bahamut's heart. And before he can even think about how to do that, the darkness comes back harder than before. His mental defense tries to fight it off. But for the first time ever, it straight up fails. This massive wave of murderous rage crashes over him, and that voice is back, roaring in his skull. Kill them all. It's drilling into his brain, demanding he give in. His vision goes dark, his body locks up, and now both his eyes are pitch black. The voice promises him freedom, real freedom, if he just submits to it. But Zeke isn't buying that BS. With every bit of willpower he has left, he fights back and makes a split-second decision. He slams his head against the glass cube as hard as he possibly can. The pain jolts through his skull, and yeah, it hurts like hell, but it clears his mind just enough. Blood runs down his face, but he's actually grinning like a psycho and says, "You call this freedom? What a joke. Because real freedom isn't something handed to you on a silver platter. You have to earn it." The glass cube shatters into a million pieces, breaking the curse with it. The system confirms urgent quest complete. Zeke has officially claimed his ancestors' dying gift. But man, that fight took everything out of him. He's mentally exhausted, like a mountain just collapsed on his brain. If he'd hesitated for even a second, he'd be toast right now. His body realizes how screwed up he is and activates his healing factor and infinite stamina to patch him up. Then something wild happens. Bahamut's heart, now freed from the curse, starts floating up in the air with this crazy glowing light. It slowly drifts towards Zeke's chest, and the moment it touches him, this massive wave of power surges through his entire body. And by power, I mean pure agonizing pain. This insane amount of pure mana, way beyond anything he's ever felt, floods into every cell in his body. But here's the problem. Zeke doesn't have any mana circles to store this energy, so all this raging power is literally ripping him apart from the inside out. He needs to do something fast. In a total panic move, he summons purple ether using Spirit of the Soul and creates a miniature black hole in his palm to seal the mana. It's completely reckless and probably stupid, but with his limited options, it's either this or explode. Has grinding his teeth, focusing everything he's got on maintaining this ether hole. The raw energy fights back hard, thrashing against his control. The pressure keeps building and building until it finally detonates. A huge explosion erupts with Zeke right at the center. Blast completely destroys the entire room, leaving behind this massive crater. Smoke and debris are everywhere, and after all that chaos, there's only silence. When the dust clears, Zeke is somehow still standing, barely. His whole body feels like it's on fire. Every nerve is screaming at him. He lets out a sharp breath, relieved that the pain is finally starting to fade. He survived. His uniform is absolutely wrecked, but there's something new on his chest. A mark, the mark of Bahamut. The glass cube has completely vanished like it was never there. That raw mana was absolutely no joke. Honestly, it's a straight-up miracle. Zeke is even alive, but his quick thinking saved his ass. As he looks down at the broken pieces on the ground, he catches his reflection and sees the mark now branded on his chest. It looks like sealing all that rampaging energy came with some side effects. Then the system drops another notification. Absorption of the cursed light dragon's heart complete, and it's followed by a flood of information. The crazy amount of mana he absorbed has completely transformed his body. His body isn't normal anymore. It's been upgraded to something way beyond human. His body is now divine. But of course there's a catch, because there's always a catch. The system detected that his current skills aren't strong enough to handle this new power. So to keep him from exploding, it forcibly sealed away 95% of the energy. But wait, there's more. Since he's the inheritor of his ancestors' legacy, he now has access to Turakan Draker's secure library. On top of that, a beginner quest book just unlocked. And there's a low-level administrator tutorial waiting for him. Zeke just scratches his head like, a divine body, a library, a tutorial. What the hell am I supposed to do with all this? It's way too much info to process right now, so he dismisses most of the notifications except for one. Turns out the first Dragon Slayer was feeling pretty generous on his deathbed. A new system prompt pops up in front of Zeke. Would you like to open Turakan Draker's second dying gift? The scene shifts, and we're back home now. Our boy is locking up all the loot he grabbed, but he can't stop staring at the system notifications. His title just changed. Now he's the one who received the blessing of the ancient dragon, an inheritor of Turakan Draker. Pretty badass, not gonna lie. And with these fancy new titles, he's got some insane perks. Draconic control, that divine body constitution we talked about earlier. But out of everything he unlocked, one ability has him sweating. Incantation. The description is vague, as hell. It just says this skill will fill your words with power. Zeke is sitting there like, okay, that sounds broken as hell, but what does it actually do? Zeke has no clue because even with all these crazy rewards, our boy is still too weak to use most of them. Like draconic control means he can command dragons. Any dragon under his rule would follow orders without question. That's sick, right? And the divine body? It boosts his combat to a whole new level. His learning speed for fighting just skyrocketed, and his ether circulation is way smoother now. But there's a difference between reading about power on a stat screen and actually having it. If he wants to know what he's truly capable of, he needs to test this monosis out in real combat. Just as he's thinking about his next move, another system window pops up. This one is still tied to Turakan Draker's legacy. He has access to some secure library now, but the system needs an information update before he can use it. The system is being all helpful, offering to mark the update location on his minimap. Zeke isn't exactly thrilled about running another errand, but it's his ancestors' legacy. He can't just ignore it. Then something catches his eye. The map layout looks familiar. He's seen this place before. Wait a second, that looks exactly like Valhalla. Folks, Valhalla is the most prestigious knight training institution in existence. It's reserved for only the most elite warriors. Regular people can't even see the grounds without administrator clearance, let alone step inside. And right now, even Zeke would have a hard time getting in. The problem? He wasn't even planning on joining Valhalla in this lifetime. But now, with something tied to Turakan Draker's dying gift hidden inside, his plans might need to change. Shaking off those thoughts, Zeke shifts his attention to the beginner quest book. The tutorial for low-level administrators is about to start. Once he completes it, he'll unlock a quest designed to boost his growth. Quests mean rewards, and the whole setup reminds him of adventurer guild missions or mercenary work. He's curious, so he asks what the tutorial involves. And bro doesn't even get a chance to prepare himself. The tutorial just starts automatically. His surroundings twist, and reality itself starts glitching out right before his eyes. Within seconds, the world around him has completely changed. Beneath his feet, glowing grid lines stretch out endlessly, and everything else is just this void of infinite darkness. Despite the trippy-ass shift, Zeke stays calm. He's scanning his surroundings, trying to figure out where the hell he is. Unlike the teleportation from earlier, this doesn't feel like he just moved locations. It's like the very rules of reality just got rewritten. Before he can process it any further, an orc lunges at him with a massive spiked club. Right then, the system finally chimes in with Tutorial Quest, defeat the monsters within 60 minutes using 2 or more different skills. Completion rewards system points plus system store unlock. Not bad at all. His battle instincts kick in, and a sword materializes in his grip. Just as the first wave of attacks closes in, he realizes this tutorial is designed to make him use the system's benefits. It would have been nice to have access to something like this before all the near-death experiences, but whatever. The first 3 orcs attack at the same time. The weapons coming down from different angles, but they hit nothing. Zeke is already gone. The sheer force of their missed attacks makes the tutorial space ripple. Before these green X's can even react, he reappears, moving at insane speed with swift steps and continuous slashes. He cuts them down with precise, effortless movements before they can even register what happened. Monsters like these are nothing more than practice dummies to him now. The claymore in his hands feels incredibly light, almost weightless. This surge in strength has to be one of the perks of his divine body constitution. With this new power, he's confident he could take down a purple knight with ease. After effortlessly wiping out the tutorial orcs, he returns to his original spot as the separate dimension fades away. Was it just an illusion? It felt way too real to be some fake trick. Either way, completing the tutorial earned him a hefty reward, both a critical hit bonus and a time bonus. In total, he racks up a solid 40 points and unlocks access to the shop. Excited, Zeke wastes no time opening the shop tab. What he finds leaves him absolutely stunned. The selection is incredible. Items like Giant's Flesh, Breath of a Flame Giant, and other rare relics that would cost a fortune on the market. A thought crosses his mind. Could he profit by reselling these items? Like he could become rich as hell just flipping system items. Beyond buying, the shop also lets him sell items from his inventory. Unfortunately, his training claymore isn't eligible, but his elven dagger is listed for just 4 points. He's pissed because he knows it could fetch at least 100 gold pieces at auction. Yet the system is low-balling him hard, so he decides it's not worth selling unless he's desperate. He closes the shop and calls it a day. After everything that happened, a full night's rest is long overdue. Cut to the next morning, Zeke makes his way to Draker Academy's research center to meet Professor Fanon. The magic professor is in complete disbelief. Zeke actually managed to get his hands on a high-compression mana stone in just one day. When asked where he found it, Zeke brushes off the question. The explanation is too complicated, and he has no intention of spilling the beans. Before Zeke even finishes his tea, Professor Fanon is already done tweaking the power source. The man's a true genius when it comes to magic. Still, despite his calm exterior, Zeke can tell the professor is suspicious. High-compression mana stones are rare and carefully documented in ancient texts. Each one has a registration number used to track its owner and origin. A single check could reveal where it came from and who it belongs to now. Yet the mana stones in Zeke's possession are completely unregistered. No matter how thoroughly anyone searches, they won't appear in the Central Continent's records. Professor Fanon's skepticism is completely justified. It's far better than blind faith. His expertise and sharp judgment make him truly exceptional. Zeke can't help thinking that a man this talented deserves far more recognition than he gets at this academy. With the design finally complete, the professor activates the apparatus and they head back to Papnir's breath. They hand the device over to Galleon. Zeke and Fanon watch as the blacksmith gets to work, his workshop glowing with the light of carefully arranged magic circles. The pure excitement on Galleon's face is contagious. He's finally been given the chance to craft weapons that meet his own high standards. This is history in the making. After a successful demonstration, Professor Fanon excuses himself to attend a lecture, leaving Zeke with Galleon. The blacksmith is overwhelmed with gratitude. He'd dreamed of completing a magic brazier for years, but never thought he'd see it happen in his lifetime. Making a deal with Zeke was the best decision he ever made. Now that Zeke has kept his end of the bargain, it's time for Galleon to keep his. Without hesitation, Zeke reaches into his bag and pulls out an item. The moment Galleon lays eyes on it, he knows exactly what it is. Inside the lavish case rests a pristine dragon's fang. Among all the rewards from inheriting Terracon's will, Bahamut's sharpest fang is easily the most valuable. Just seeing it makes the blacksmith tremble with excitement. Tears and snot run down Galleon's face as he clutches the massive fang, leaving Zeke momentarily bewildered. First, he helped bring the magic brazier to life, and now he's giving a humble craftsman the chance to forge a weapon from a dragon's fang. It's every blacksmith's wildest dream. Overcome with emotion, Galleon swears to create a blade that will surpass all of Zeke's expectations, even if it costs him his life. His words strike a chord. They're the same words he said in Zeke's previous life. Even in this second chance, Galleon is still the same passionate fool. That realization stirs something deep within Zeke. Leaving Papnir's breath behind, he lets the master handle the crafting. With the greatest blacksmith on the continent working on his weapon, he has no doubt it will become something legendary. Now that the sword business is handled, Zeke returns to his mansion. The man went through absolute hell just to get a proper weapon, and now he can finally relax. It's been a week since his duel with Duke, and he's just chilling at his mansion, lounging around while reading that note he received. You know, the one inviting him to a rematch when things suddenly go sideways. Out of nowhere, our boy senses something. He turns around, and there he is, Duke Draker, standing behind him, looking like he's about to commit murder. This man's eyes are practically burning with rage as he gets in Zeke's face, demanding to know why he's been ignoring his invitation. And folks, what does our boy do? Being the little menace he is, Zeke decides to poke the bear. He casually tells Duke he has no plans to fight him again. That's all it takes. Duke snaps, crosses the room in half a second, grabs Zeke, and before our boy can even blink, this furious old knight launches him straight out the open window like a football. Zeke is suddenly free-falling through the air with absolutely no warning. And get this, his room is on one of the higher floors too. If he hits the ground before his body can start healing, he's cooked. He reaches out desperately, trying to grab anything on the way down. A balcony, a ledge, anything. But no, a strong hand catches him by the throat before he can get a grip. Duke isn't done with him yet. The man seriously can't understand why Zeke keeps avoiding him. First, he dodged him in the treatment room, and now this? It's almost like the kid is doing it on purpose just to mess with him. Duke gives him 5 seconds to cut the crap and start talking, but instead of panicking like any sane person would while dangling off a building, Zeke just smiles. He casually calls Duke out, pointing out that he's the one being fake, still pretending to be a gardener while demanding honesty from Zeke. Something changes in Duke's face. He expected fear, maybe tears, anything. But there's nothing. The countdown reaches 0 and the old knight's grip loosens. Without saying a word, Duke tosses Zeke back through the window like he weighs nothing. Zeke crashes onto the floor and wrecks half the room on impact. But thanks to his tank-like body, nothing is actually broken. He dusts himself off and looks up to see Duke, or rather garden keeper, Dexter, offering him a hand with a smug little smirk. The old knight finally drops the act. He's not just some weird gardener who talks to plants. This man was a Black Knight of the Draker family. Zeke gasps and acts, completely shocked, even though he figured that out a long time ago. But hey, the kid knows how to put on a show. He throws himself into it, dropping to his knees and apologizing for not recognizing such an important member of the Draker family. Duke narrows his eyes, though he doesn't buy it for a second. "Was this your plan from the start?" he asks. Shameless as ever, Zeke keeps playing dumb and milks the whole thing. But he's also sneaky, so while he's at it, he casually asks why Duke called himself a former Black Knight. The old man's face darkens fast. "I just don't have that title anymore," he says. Zeke didn't even know knights could lose their ranks like that. He can tell Duke isn't going to say anything more, so he drops it. But he does notice the slight tremble in the old man's hand. Yeah, there's definitely more to this story. Since Duke actually came clean about who he is, Zeke figures it's only fair to do the same. He drops to his knees and admits everything outright. Yes, he knew the whole time and had been messing with Duke on purpose, hoping the man would eventually take him as a student. Instead of blowing up, Duke actually laughs. The old knight finds Zeke's nerve hilarious, and just like that, he makes his decision. "All right," he says, "you're my apprentice now." Zeke's jaw drops. That's seriously it? He fully expected Duke to put him through brutal tests, or maybe even try to kill him before agreeing. But no, this kid just got himself a legendary teacher by being persistent and annoying. He wastes no time. He bows deeply and goes into full serious mode. "I, Zeke Draker, swear to bring honor to my master's name, follow his teachings, and pursue both wisdom and strength under his guidance." Duke raises an eyebrow. "Wait, you actually know that vow?" Yeah, most kids these days have no idea that kind of thing even exists. But Zeke has always believed that knowing your roots and having discipline is what separates real knights from everyone else. So of course he knows it by heart. Still, one more thing is on his mind. "Master, may I ask you something?" Duke immediately shuts that down. "Yeah, no, don't call me that." Zeke smirks, but keeps going anyway. "Why did you actually choose me?" Because let's be real, Duke is famous for saying no to literally everyone, though even Andre, the so-called once-in-a-generation genius, had to beg for years before Duke finally gave in. Zeke has his own guesses. He wants to hear it from the man himself. Duke just chuckles. "Take a guess." Zeke grins. "Because I'm the smartest kid in the family." Duke bursts into a loud laugh. "Confident, huh? No, if I wanted raw talent, I would have chosen that girl from the Turun family." Then his face turns serious. "I chose you for one reason, kid. You don't quit, and that's the thing. Talent alone won't get you to the top." Duke makes that crystal clear. Kids who are naturally gifted are often the ones who fall apart the hardest when things get tough. Their talent vanishes the moment life gets real. Zeke knows this better than anyone. He's watched it happen again and again his whole life. Kids everyone swore would be the next big thing. Kids who were supposed to become Red Knights couldn't even push past Blue Knight. The moment things got truly hard, they stopped growing. Duke ends it there and stands up. "Enough talking, let's go." Zeke follows him to the empty western greenhouse, and then Duke reveals something wild. There's an entire hidden gym underneath it. Zeke had no idea this place even existed. Duke doesn't bother explaining. "Run," he says. So Zeke runs for 3 hours straight. He just keeps going, in circles around the track while Duke watches him like a hawk. Zeke can't stop wondering what the hell Duke is trying to figure out. Then Duke tells him to stop. Zeke brakes immediately, but before he can even catch his breath, Duke is already right behind him. This old man moves like a ghost. His hand shoots towards Zeke's wrist out of nowhere. Zeke's body reacts before his brain can. He yanks his arm away and dodges the grab just in time. Every part of him is screaming to put as much distance between them as possible. Duke narrows his eyes and looks down at his own hand for a second. Even though he didn't actually grab Zeke, that tiny bit of contact almost tore right through the kid's special glove, and that tells him everything he needs to know. "You have a problem with me checking your pulse?" Duke asks, his voice sharp as hell, but Zeke knows there is no way that was what Duke was really trying to do. This sly old fox has been suspicious from day one, from their fight in the infirmary to the greenhouse brawl, and now this. The man watched him run 500 laps without sensing a single bit of aura from Zeke's body. And the moment Duke reached for his wrist, Zeke flinched away on instinct. Then Duke casually asks our boy, "You can't use aura, can you?" Seeing our boy panic, Duke casually mentions that he knows about the bronze statue incident and the golden light Zeke triggered, and our boy is internally freaking out. Duke says, "If I'm wrong, let me check your pulse," and there is no hostility in his eyes, just pure curiosity. But Zeke is losing his mind inside, because aura means everything in the Draker world, and if people found out someone from their bloodline couldn't use it, that wouldn't just be embarrassing. It would be career-ending, family-shaming, life-ruining chaos. But the funny thing is, Duke doesn't care about any of that political nonsense. The man just wants to know what's really going on. Zeke is honestly lucky his master is such a strange old wham, because if this were anyone else, things would have gone south fast. So Zeke knows he has to play this smart. His one goal right now is to get his hands on Graham. Until then, he needs to keep his head down and make sure no one catches on to his aura situation. But unlike his past life, where he was basically the embarrassment of his household, things are different now. No lies are needed this time. Zeke pulls off his special gloves, revealing the symbol of a pureblood awakener underneath. Rock-solid proof of his noble bloodline right there on his skin. But even though his powers awakened successfully, the guy simply cannot use aura. So he decides to reveal just enough truth to keep his real secrets hidden. He looks down, lets out a shaky breath, and hits Duke with the trembling voice act. "If the family finds out I can't use aura, they'll kick me out," he whispers. And man, he even squeezes out a few tears. Someone give this kid an Oscar, because the performance is flawless. Duke, being the soft-hearted old man he secretly is, completely melts seeing his student like that. A kid is still a kid after all. Zeke holds out his wrist without another word, and Duke spreads his aura through the boy's body to scan for any trace of it. The result? Absolutely nothing. Not a single drop. Duke's mind immediately goes into overdrive, trying to make sense of it, because he simply refuses to believe something that goes against everything the Drakers know. And right on cue, he reaches his own answer. "You're an irregular." Zeke plays dumb, tilting his head like he's never heard the term. Duke explains that irregulars are people with abilities that don't follow the normal rules. Some can use both aura and mana, while others can see the future or do other strange things. The point is, they're basically outcasts because their existence scares everyone. Duke crosses his arms and says they'll keep this between them. Master and student, nobody else's business. Simple as that. Then Duke connects the dots on his own. Zeke's insane stamina, his recovery speed, and even small injuries healing almost instantly. Duke figures it out. "Your aura is constantly being drained to keep your body healing," he says. "That's why there's barely any left." Honestly, for a weird old man, that is a pretty solid guess. Zeke keeps up his act, looking worried as he asks if that means hell never use aura. Duke just laughs and shakes his head. "Forget aura. My Gale arts don't need it." And then Duke shows him. Before Zeke can even process what's happening, the ground beneath Duke explodes. The old knight launches himself across the entire gym in a single jump, moving so fast you can even see him, zigzagging across the arena like a blur before landing back where he started, as if he'd only taken a casual stroll. Duke turns around and asks, "Did you catch that?" Zeke lets out a breath and immediately asks if he can try it himself. Duke blinks. Most people would need to watch it again, but this kid is already itching to go. The old knight laughs and tells him to go for it. Zeke replays every movement in his mind, then steps forward. His first step cracks the ground right over Duke's footprint, and just like that, He vanishes, perfectly copying his master's entire pattern without a single mistake. When he finally stops, Duke is completely speechless. A week ago, this kid was nowhere near this level. The improvement is insane. Honestly, it's beyond anything Duke has ever seen. Of course, Zeke has to ruin the moment by getting wee about it. Duke pulls him into a headlock, teasing him for going from crying like a baby to nailing a move most knights can't even figure out. Fast forward a bit, and Zeke is at the academy dining hall, absolutely demolishing everything in sight. Meat, seafood, bread, you name it. That's when instructor Andre walks up and asks how the hell Zeke managed to get chosen by Sir Dexter. Zeke, still shoveling food into his mouth, just shrugs and says Sir Dexter chose him on his own. Andre is not happy with that answer. The man's whole face darkens because, obviously, he assumes Zeke was only chosen for being a pure-blood awakener. Zeke isn't having it. After finishing his meal, he turns on Andre and basically calls out the man's inferiority complex to his face. Andre tries to pull rank, but Zeke shuts him down completely, pointing out that if Sir Dexter were truly that shallow, then it would only prove Zeke's own worth even more. Then he tells Andre to stop whining and actually put in the work to earn his place. Later that day at the Western Greenhouse Arena, Zeke and Duke arrive to find Andre already there, running laps like his life depends on it. Turns out the man showed up earlier and practically begged Duke to let him train, even if it meant starting from the very bottom. Duke gave him a challenge, 300 laps, no aura, and Andre is out there grinding through it. Even Zeke has to respect it. Turns out this guy actually has some fight in him after all. Cut to the next day, and something major is going down at the academy. Every student is called to the training grounds because apparently the big boss himself is coming through. Patriarch's visit is happening, and you can hear the horses outside before the carriage even rolls up, covered in the Draker family symbol. The academy's dean, Howard Draker, is already scrambling like crazy. He's ordering everyone to get ready for their supreme leader, making sure he's standing right at the front so he can be the first to kiss ass. The carriage pulls up, the door opens, and Howard is already bowing so low you'd think he's trying to touch his toes. Behind him, all the knights kneel with their swords raised in the air, performing the full salute. The Patriarch arrives right on time, exactly at noon. The academy bell starts ringing, and it's louder and sharper than usual because this is a big deal. Then he steps out. Arthur Draker, head of the third transcendent household, the Dragon Slayer himself. His presence alone makes everyone fall silent and stand straight. He places a hand on Howard's shoulder, towering over the poor guy, and gives him a rare compliment for working hard. This man is power personified. Howard is still bowing as he suggests they head inside because the sun is brutal, but Arthur moves at his own pace. Nobody rushes this man. Some students near the gates manage to peek at him, and their jaws drop. Then finally, he steps fully into view so everyone can see his face. Standing before these young dragon slayers, Arthur addresses them directly, calling them the future of the clan, its hope and strength, and all that usual nonsense. He tells them to train harder and push themselves for their own growth and for the glory of the Draker family. The students eat it up, shouting back with everything they've got, completely fired up by his speech. As the sun beats down on everyone, Arthur turns away and tells Howard to take him inside already. Behind closed doors, Zeke is summoned to meet the leader of all knights, the Dragon Slayer, and his own father. Arthur actually laughs at Zeke's extremely formal, old-school greeting because nobody talks like that anymore. He smiles faintly as he pours 2 cups of tea and tells his son to sit down. He mentions that he heard Zeke likes tea, so he brought something rare, hoping he'd enjoy it. To some random person watching, this might look like a sweet moment between father and son, but Zeke sees right through it. This proves that every little thing about him, even what he drinks, is being reported to the higher-ups. There's an old saying, the Emperor may not know everything, but nothing escapes a Draker. Right now, Zeke feels the truth of that hit him hard. Arthur doesn't waste time with nonsense. He called Zeke here because he heard Duke Draker took him as a student. Zeke plays it down, saying Dexter is just doing him a favor. Arthur isn't completely sure what his son's endgame is, but he admits that learning from Duke will certainly lead to good things. Before he can continue, Zeke cuts him off. His goal isn't just to learn from Dexter. His goal is to become the strongest man on the entire continent. Arthur's eyes sharpen at that, and Zeke isn't done. He swears hell surpass everyone and becomes strong enough to live however he wants. That's what he's after, and nothing is going to stop him. Arthur simply stares at his son. Then, without saying anything, he lets a little of his aura slip out to make a point. The whole room turns heavy. Zeke's body tenses as invisible pressure surrounds him. A chill runs down his spine. This isn't regular aura. This is the astral sword, the power said to grant control over every living thing within range, and only the most elite Black Knights can even use it. Just feeling it makes Zeke's breath catch in his throat. Arthur's eyes gleam with something Zeke can't quite read. Maybe he's amused, or maybe he's testing him. Zeke realizes he spoke too boldly and said things he probably shouldn't have, but even with his father's power crushing down on him, he refuses to fold. Gritting his teeth, he stands his ground. He doesn't take it back or retreat. Instead, he doubles down, looking Arthur straight in the eye. Yes, his goal is to surpass even his own father, and no matter what it takes, hell make it happen. Arthur watches Zeke for a moment, then withdraws his astral sword, looking satisfied. The crushing pressure vanishes instantly as he calmly sips his tea. He admits that what Zeke just said is the most interesting thing he's heard in years. Originally, Arthur came here to support the academy and his youngest son, but after seeing how much Zeke has grown, he wonders if that will be enough. He reaches into his fancy suit and pulls out something small, sliding it across the table. Zeke looks at it, a black card with the Draker family symbol on it. For a second, he's stunned. He always thought Black Knights like Dexter were the peak of strength, but his father, this man is on a completely different level. Seeing the black card in person makes Zeke uncomfortable. He stumbles over his words and Arthur smirks. He can tell his son already understands what this means. This isn't just any card, it's the ultimate flex. Only a handful of people ever receive one, and it comes with basically everything. No spending limit, access to the most elite places, and influence beyond money. It's practically an infinite money glitch. Arthur casually explains that the card is under both their names, so Zeke can use it whenever he wants, but Zeke isn't stupid. He knows the real reason for this gift. Every time someone uses a black card, it leaves a trail. It's just another way to keep an eye on him. Still, the fact that Arthur chose this instead of assigning an entire squad to follow him means one thing. The Patriarch doesn't see him as a threat. Not yet, anyway. Zeke swallows his unease and takes the card, promising to use it only when he truly needs to. Arthur waves him off with some final encouragement. If Zeke really wants to become the strongest, he had better get to work. Zeke bows one last time, thanking the master of the Draker family, then walks out with his head spinning. As the door closes behind him, Arthur leans back with his eyes shut, thinking. His youngest son's ambition caught him off guard, but it is interesting. Then the silence is broken. Dexter walks right in without bothering with any formalities. "You're a disgusting old man," he says. Arthur opens one eye, completely unbothered. "Why are you so angry?" Dexter crosses his arms. "So now you're playing father after being absent for his entire life." Arthur doesn't even flinch, but for the first time in years, someone is actually calling him out on his nonsense. And Dexter is just about the only man with the strength and nerve to do it. Arthur sighs, saying he had no choice. This is what comes with being head of the household. Leadership demands sacrifices. Besides, what Dexter is saying is basically slander against the Patriarch himself. Dexter isn't buying it. He drops onto the couch, stretches out, and looks Arthur in the eye. "Then go ahead, arrest me," he says, daring him. Arthur chuckles and drops the act. Out of everyone on the continent, Dexter is the only one he can actually talk to like a normal person. Reaching into his suit again, Arthur pulls out something far more valuable than gold, a bottle of dragon's breath, an extremely rare and expensive liquor. He offers Dexter a drink to go with their chat, and just like that, Dexter's mood flips. He smirks, admitting that if nothing else, Arthur has excellent taste in alcohol. With drinks poured, Arthur finally gets to the real topic, the strange tension hanging over the continent. Dexter acts like he doesn't know what Arthur means, claiming he's been minding his own business at the academy. But Arthur knows better. Dexter has eyes and ears everywhere. Dexter sighs and sets his glass down. Why ask something you already know the answer to? Arthur doesn't argue. He simply waits. After a moment, Dexter leans forward, his voice dropping. The Emperor has lost his mind, obsessing over immortality. He's tearing apart the entire continent, searching for anything that might give him even the smallest lead. Arthur nods, not surprised at all. He's been thinking the same thing. Sure, magic can slow aging, but true immortality? That's a fairy tale, something nobody has ever achieved and probably never will. But one thing has him worried. The Emperor isn't just chasing a fantasy. He's hunting for something real, something tied to the Elder Dragon. So while these two big shots are having their secret meeting, our boy is in the next room with his ear pressed to the wall, standing there casually with his hands in his pockets while using his soul manifestation ability. And this conversation is absolute gold. Arthur shares his theory that the Emperor is probably hunting down some relic, connected to the Elder Dragon. Dexter sits there like, you know what, that actually makes sense. But then comes the real kicker. What if that crazy has already found it? Arthur casually swirls his drink, thinks it over, and admits that yes, it's possible. His personal death squad, the Order of Black Knights, has been doing its homework, and every trail leads to one place, the northern continent. Now that gets Dexter's attention fast. The fact that he's only hearing about this now means the Empire's spy network hasn't caught wind of it yet. But they will. It's only a matter of time before everything blows up. This whole immortality obsession drags up dark memories for Dexter. He thinks back to when that absolute lunatic of an emperor first took the throne and immediately started a continental war, just to show off. The madman conquered half the central lands before finally calming down, and now it looks like history is about to repeat itself. Dexter foolishly assumed the emperor would eventually give up this delusion of living forever, but no, he was dead wrong. If that psychopath actually gets his hands on an artifact that grants immortality, the entire continent is finished. Arthur isn't about to let that happen. Given how serious this is, he's already made his decision. He's heading north to handle it personally. Dexter just sits there like, are you insane? Because Arthur leaving the central continent is basically begging for disaster. Without him around to keep that power-hungry emperor in check, the Ha will run wild and destroy everything in his path. But this is exactly why Arthur showed up today. Sure, he gave some half-hearted motivational speech to the trainees, but the real reason was to tell Dexter his master plan, and he knew exactly how the old man would react. Resistance is futile, though. Dexter realizes he has no choice, lets out a long-suffering sigh, and reluctantly raises his glass for a toast. Fine, fine, but don't expect me to play nice while you're gone. Arthur just chuckles because he knows this very well. The grumpy old guardian of the academy may groan like this is the worst day of his life, but Arthur knows the truth. No matter how much he complains, Dexter is more than capable of holding everything together. Meanwhile, back in the next room, Zeke is paying the ultimate price for being nosy. His whole body is screaming in pain, his vision is going blurry, and he's been using soul manifestation for far too long. The backlash hits him like a truck. His knees buckle, and before he knows it, he's face first on the floor, gasping for air with bloodshot eyes, looking like he just went 12 rounds with Mike Tyson. Even after absorbing Bahamut's heart, this technique's side effects are no joke. But you know what? Totally worth it, because what he just learned is invaluable. Everything is starting to click. That statue he grabbed before his regression wasn't some random relic. It was the Elder Dragon's artifact all along. The mysterious voice he heard before dying and the strange system messages when he woke up in his younger body all make sense now. Without even realizing it, his past self had stolen the exact artifact the Emperor was obsessed with. No wonder he was hunted like a dog with a bounty on his head. That crazed dictator mobilized his most elite unit and sent them to chase him to the ends of the world. Back then, Zeke was so consumed by revenge that he never questioned why he was being pursued so relentlessly. But now, he has a concrete clue about his regression. The administrator system that sent him back in time is connected to the Elder Dragon's artifact, which only raises more questions. Who the hell could create something like that? How powerful were they? And most importantly, why? Sitting on the floor and trying to catch his breath, Zeke realizes he chased answers only to find even bigger mysteries waiting for him. So the two Draker big shots finish their drinks and wrap things up. Dexter says, yeah, he'll handle it. Arthur is fine with that because he knows the man gets results. But just as he's about to leave, Arthur suddenly stops. The entire mood in the hallway shifts, and his eyes lock onto the door where Zeke is hiding, like he has X-ray vision. Meanwhile, Zeke is in there completely clueless about how close he is to being caught, still lost in thought over this whole immortality and time travel mess. If he really stole the Emperor's artifact, why did everyone think it had something to do with living forever? Then he hears its footsteps, heavy ones, and every instinct in Zeke's body starts screaming. Arthur is far too close for comfort. The door flies open, and Arthur's cold stare sweeps across the room, but nobody is there. Zeke pulls off a clutch escape, already halfway out the window by the time Arthur walks in, avoiding what would have been the most awkward "hey, Dad" moment in history. Arthur shrugs off the strange feeling and leaves, never knowing how close he was. Cut to a few hours later, and Zeke is back at the Western Greenhouse Arena, doing his usual training grind. It's supposed to be a don't disturb kind of day, but old Decker, being the try-hard servant he is, completely ignores that. He walks in apologetically, bowing as he says some students have come looking for him. Zeke immediately goes, "What?" Because who would go out of their way to visit him? The guy has zero friends at this place, but he's curious, so he tells Decker to let whoever it is in. He is not ready for Liam Stone to walk through that door. The moment this jacked guy enters, he bows his head like he's meeting royalty. Zeke's eyes narrow, deeply suspicious. What's this guy's angle? Then Liam, sounding completely serious, straight up begs to join him. Zeke lets out an annoyed sigh, already kicking himself for not ghosting this guy back when he was putting Jekken in his place. "So you're saying you want to work for me?" he asks, clearly not feeling it. Liam lowers his head even more and swears hell be loyal. This catches Zeke off guard, and he raises an eyebrow. "What happened to all that loyalty you had for Jekken?" As soon as he mentions that name, Liam's whole face changes. The guy looks furious for a second before explaining that he was abandoned, and without a powerful Draker backing him, there's no way hell get into Valhalla as a trainee. Zeke's mind goes back to his past life. Liam was exactly the same then too. He never figured out why this guy was so obsessed with Valhalla, but one thing was clear: he would beg, crawl, and do anything to get in. Zeke clicks his tongue and flatly rejects him. "You're dumb as hell. If you're that desperate, go bother Turun or Zimmons instead." He waves him off and makes it crystal clear. He's not running a charity for people to leech off him, and even he can't get Liam into Valhalla. Besides, Zeke has no reason to trust anything this guy says. For all he knows, this musclehead could be a spy Jekken sent to get revenge. The doubt in Zeke's voice is obvious, and Liam doesn't even try to argue. Instead, he shows him. In one quick move, he pulls a knife from his waistband. Zeke's eyes narrow, ready for a fight. But Liam doesn't rush him. Instead, this absolute psycho turns the blade on himself, and with one nasty, hesitation-free slash, cuts off his own left ear. Zeke just stands there, watching as Liam drops his severed ear on the ground like it's nothing. Liam takes a shaky breath, his face still serious. "I understand. You don't trust me, but he'll do whatever it takes to prove him sincere." Then, with terrifying conviction, he goes even further. "If you want me silent, he'll cut out my tongue. If you want me crippled, he'll chop off my own foot." Zeke can't deny it. This extreme, borderline insane behavior is real, and Liam isn't playing around. The tremble in his voice, the blood running down his face, none of it is an act. Watching him stand there trembling and grinding his teeth through the pain, Zeke's mind flashes back to another time. Another severed ear. It's not a memory he likes thinking about, not even a little. Seeing Liam push himself to the absolute limit just for a chance to follow him, he cannot help remembering when he was in that exact same position. A beaten, scarred fighter with nothing but rage in his eyes, kneeling before his master from his past life, begging to become stronger than everyone else. So he decides to give Liam a chance to prove himself. He flings his sword at him and says, "I'll take you in as my subordinate if you can withstand one attack from me." For a second, Liam is confident he can do it. Our boy is insanely strong, but Liam is also the future mercenary, king. But no, because the moment our boy says those words, his entire aura shifts, and Liam realizes there is no way he can beat Zeke. Still, he decides to try anyway. They both rush at each other, And well, it goes exactly how you would expect. Liam loses badly. It's so bad that even our boy is surprised. Zeke tries to leave, thinking the conversation is over, when he notices the big guy still has that stubborn look in his eyes. He sighs and offers some advice. Bro, forget Valhalla, find another path. But Liam refuses. See, here's the thing. After Zeke embarrassed that spoiled brat Jekken, the guy tossed Liam aside like yesterday's trash. And Liam comes from some random branch family, so without being Jekken's lapdog, he never would have even gotten close to this academy. If they're willing to kick out Zeke, an actual Draker, they'll throw away someone like Liam without blinking. Zeke turns to leave, thinking it's over, but then he feels something heavy on his leg. He looks down and sees Liam clinging to him like his life depends on it. In the old timeline, Liam was expelled and his crew fell apart, but through pure spite and stubbornness, he became a Red Knight and earned the title of Mercenary King. Now he's literally crying, begging for one more chance. Zeke's patience is running out. Fine. One last chance, don't screw it up. But there's a catch. Liam said he would do anything. Cut out his tongue, chop off his feet, whatever. So Zeke hits him with something genuinely insane. Cut off your right arm. Room goes dead silent. Zeke is basically telling him to say goodbye to his dreams as a swordsman. Any normal person would back out immediately. Zeke turns away and starts training, expecting Liam to finally give up and leave. Instead, this madman walks toward a sword. Zeke thinks it's no big deal. Liam will still become a legend even if he gets kicked out. But then it hits him. Liam is actually going to do it. He grabs the blade, raises it high, and aims for his own arm. Zeke's body moves on instinct, pushing his legs to the limit. Just before Liam can bring it down, Zeke's sword flashes and cuts Liam's weapon in half. The clang echoes through the arena. Liam stares at his intact arm like he can't process why it's still there. Meanwhile, Zeke is pissed. He grabs this big idiot by the collar and lifts him off the ground. Have you completely lost your godchild mind? Sure, the test was extreme, but what if Zeke had been the type to go back on his word? Liam would have thrown everything away for nothing. But Liam was ready to go that far because something mattered to him more than his own arm. Zeke drops him and gives him a cold stare. Do something that stupid again and you're out. I don't care how loyal you are. The tension finally leaves Liam's face. Those harsh words mean he's staying. But there's still one problem. We need to get you to the nurse. Can't have my guy walking around looking like a one-eared freak. After getting patched up, Liam is invited to Zeke's private dining hall. He keeps touching his restored ear, amazed that it's back to normal. Turns out Zeke used one of his rare healing potions on him. Liam feels guilty for wasting such a valuable item, but Zeke just waves it off. Think of it as an investment. Now that things have calmed down, Zeke asks the real question. What could possibly matter more than your own arm? The answer is simple, his mother. After Jekken threw him away, Liam received news that his mother had collapsed with a dangerously high fever. She got better, but then strange rose-like patterns began spreading across her body, draining her strength. Zeke's face darkens. He recognizes those symptoms. The village healers had no idea what it was or how to cure it. Liam's only hope was Valhalla, because academy students and their families get access to the best doctors on the continent. If he got in, his mother might have a chance. Zeke sighs. Now he understands. Without a word, he grabs a pen and starts writing down the symptoms. Red, rose-like markings, recurring fevers. He knows this disease far too well. In 5 years, the entire central continent will be devastated by the Rose Plague, a highly contagious illness with a brutal death toll. Countless people will die before anyone discovers a cure. Zeke hands Liam a piece of paper containing the medicine recipe that can treat his mother. The steps aren't complicated, and the ingredients aren't rare. Any village healer can make it. Liam is confused but relieved. How is this possible? Village experts who spent their entire lives studying medicine couldn't figure it out. Yet this young swordsman just casually wrote down the cure in seconds. In the future, a pair of genius alchemist brothers will create this treatment and save countless lives. But before they can share it for free, the Alchemist Association will monopolize it and sell it at insane prices. Eventually, the brothers will leak the recipe to everyone. Obviously, Zeke can't explain any of that, so he simply says, "I know a skilled alchemist." With the cure in hand, Liam technically has no reason to join Valhalla or stay with Zeke anymore. His biggest problem has just been solved. But Liam doesn't see it that way. He stands up, looking completely serious. He's a man of his word, and he promised to dedicate his life to serving Zeke. He takes a knee and swears loyalty for life. After spending the whole day trying to push this big fool away, hearing the future mercenary king pledge his loyalty is actually pretty reassuring. Zeke exits with one final warning: don't fall behind, or ill leave your ass behind. Meanwhile, in Dean Howard Draker's office, Owen Zimmons shows up with a wild proposal. We should increase the difficulty of this semester's exams. The dean raises an eyebrow. It's not every day a student asks for something like this. Owen apologizes if he sounds arrogant, then explains his reasoning. This year's freshmen are unusually stacked with candidates from major families and 2 pureblood awakeners. If the exam stays at last year's level, it won't properly test what they can do. Howard thinks it over and gives a small nod. The kid has a point. Owen bows and leaves, while the dean leans back, staring out the window. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Owen Zimmons is already thinking far ahead. Just like that man, he spots future problems and handles them before they even appear. A few days later, it's exam time. Dungeon exploration, baby. All the freshmen are standing outside these creepy ruins, ready to jump in. Here's how it works. You get paired with someone, thrown into a random dungeon, and have to escape before time runs out. Each dungeon has different difficulty levels, and naturally, Zeke and Liam get stuck together. Even though they're geared up and ready to go, Liam looks nervous as hell. Zeke notices and gives him some advice. Look, being nervous is normal, just don't let it mess you up. Too much stress makes you careless. Getting too relaxed makes you sloppy. Around them, some students are chatting excitedly, while others just stand there in awkward silence. The guard yells out, Zeke Draker and Liam Stone. They step forward, heading toward the closest entrance. But right before they can enter, a sketchy man in black gloves blocks their path. Hold on, the man says. Then an armed academy guard points toward a different door, one all the way across the room. You've been assigned to that dungeon. Zeke's eyes flick toward the guard, and he instantly knows something is wrong. The man's expression is far too stiff, like he's hiding something shady. Zeke just sighs. Whatever trap this is, he's confident he can handle it. Now here's the deal with these exams. Each group gets 96 hours to escape. The real enemy is time. Combat skills are graded too, and you can earn extra points by bringing back monster heads. But none of that matters if you don't get out before the clock hits 0. Fail to escape, and it's an automatic loss. Inside the dungeon, the first stretch of their journey is surprisingly calm. It's just a long walk through ancient ruins. After a while, they finally stop to rest. Full stomachs, nothing trying to kill them, the perfect time to sleep. Strangely enough, even though he's the subordinate, Liam tells Zeke to sleep first, since the young lord did everything: set up camp, cook the food, all of it. But Zeke just waves him off, saying that with his current body, he can go 4 days without sleep. Seriously, I could stay awake for the whole exam. Liam knows better than to argue, so he drags his huge frame into the tent and crashes hard. Now alone, Zeke sits by the fire, zoning out. It's been 16 hours since they entered the dungeon, and he'd been training non-stop for 3 days before the exam even started. That means our boy has been awake for nearly 90 hours straight. Infinite stamina keeps his body moving, but it does nothing for his mental exhaustion. And in a dungeon where danger can emerge from any shadow, losing focus for even a second could get you killed. The eerie silence drags on, and he feels exhaustion creeping in, messing with his head. He wants to wake Liam and switch out, but then he makes the worst possible mistake. He dozes off. His dreams drag him back to those freezing plains up north, where the Emperor's red flag is basically a giant middle finger symbolizing cruelty and bloodshed. A woman's corpse lies in front of him, her blood spreading across the snow in a horrifying contrast that burns itself into his memory. Zeke's eyes snap open, he's breathing hard, his body drenched in sweat. For a moment, he just sits there frozen, half expecting the nightmare to bleed into reality. But no, the fire is still crackling and the dungeon is still quiet. It was only a dream. Still, he'd rather fight an entire army of monsters than relive that memory again. Then something catches his attention. A sound. One of his bell traps just went off. Zeke sends his senses into overdrive. He grabs his water bottle and quickly douses the fire, plunging everything into darkness. Liam, wake the hell up. As Liam stirs, Zeke presses his back against the wall, carefully assessing the situation. Then a nasty smell hits him, sharp and rank. Sulfur. His mind immediately connects the dots. Only one creature reeks like that, a hellhound, a pack-hunting monster ranked at danger level 3. But here's the thing. In his past life, during this exact exam, the top student, Rainer, hunted an orc. Zeke has never heard of a dungeon with hellhounds in it. Something doesn't add up. He waits for the beast to appear, but it never does. Instead, he notices something even stranger. An alpha hellhound should weigh a few hundred kilos at most. But judging by the deep rumbling echoes bouncing off the cave walls, whatever is coming weighs several tons. Using his blade like a mirror, Zeke carefully angles it around the corner. His quick thinking saves him, giving him just enough time to spot the incoming freight train of a monster barreling straight at them. With pure brute force, the beast crashes through the door and walls like they're made of paper. A shockwave sends Zeke flying, but he twists mid-air and lands perfectly on his feet. Liam rushes to his side, eyes wide with panic, but Zeke just curses under his breath. The Zimmons. In that split second before impact, he'd spotted something, a trinket tucked into the Academy Guard's uniform, marked with a symbol tied to the Z-Man's family. So that's how it is. He expected dirty tricks, but this is beyond filthy. The hellhound he expected is already dead, its head cleanly sliced off, and a massive troll is casually holding it like a war trophy. Zeke's eyes narrow. They didn't send hellhounds. They skipped straight to using trolls as hired killers. Meanwhile, Liam is frozen in pure terror. Trolls are rank 1 monsters, at least 2 levels higher than the usual difficulty of these tests. Liam finally snaps out of it and steps forward with his sword, telling our boy, "I'll hold it off. You run." Zeke just laughs, pushes Liam aside and says, "Don't ever say stupid things like that again. I don't abandon my people when it matters." Then he adds, "Don't believe in me. Believe in yourself." Because Liam isn't weak. Zeke knows that. As a test, Zeke hangs back and lets Liam cook. The moment he does, Liam's stress evaporates, and he charges in. They rush the troll from both sides, slicing it up in perfect sync. Zeke deliberately holds back to match Liam's pace. And honestly, our boy is landing clean hits on the troll's tough skin while even targeting the joints. But Liam is still inexperienced. One mistake and the troll's spiked club almost turns him into paste. Zeke instantly closes the gap, blocks it like it's nothing, and slices the weapon clean in half. Liam stumbles back, apologizing. But Zeke is like, "No, you did great for your first real fight." Now the troll is furious, weaponless, and ready to throw hands. Before Liam can make another mistake, Zeke steps in. "All right, I'm ending this." So our boy Zeke absolutely demolishes this troll in about 2 seconds. The poor Six doesn't even know what hit him before he's turned into ground beef. The kill earns Zeke 30 karma points, which is pretty solid, and it will boost their exam score too. While Liam is busy harvesting anything useful from the corpse, Zeke gets a new system notification: hunt 100 monsters from 10 different species in 72 hours. The reward? Double karma points on every kill, plus 2 mystery boxes. Our boy sees the word double, and his eyes practically light up with greed. He's already doing the math. Killing 100 monsters in 72 hours? Easy mode. The real problem is finding 10 different species when most dungeon exams only have about 4 types at most. But then Zeke remembers. Oh right, the Zimmons Trasikas rigged this whole place to get him killed, which means they probably filled it with all kinds of high-tier monsters. The joke is on them, because that's exactly what he needs right now. So while he has to juggle this quest, survive and score well on the exam, Zeke is like, "Yeah, I can handle this." After Liam finishes looting, they head deeper into the dungeon. Time to hunt, cut to a montage, and things move fast. A pack of burning wolves gets wiped out. 56 hours left. A goblin nest gets absolutely farmed, the kill count soars, and their loot bags grow heavy as hell. 39 hours remain. Then they face a giant bat with sonic attacks that can rupture eardrums, but they take it down too. For the past 2 days, it's been the same routine kill. Camp, rest, repeat. By the final day, they've racked up enough kills to secure a solid exam score. They're relaxing by the campfire when Zeke asks Liam how he's handling real combat. Liam, humble as always, scratches his head and says he still feels like he has a long way to go. Which, yeah, nobody gets used to this much bloodshed overnight. That's pretty normal. But Zeke has bigger problems. The timer is running out and he's at 99 monsters from 9 different species. He needs one more species, but he can't find it anywhere. He's so desperate that he's even tried killing leeches and finger-sized bugs. But the system says, no, that doesn't count. Zeke is getting frustrated because these cat Zimmons went out of their way to fill the dungeon with powerful monsters to kill him, but somehow couldn't do it properly enough to give him the 10th species. Then suddenly, Zeke's instincts go off and the ground starts shaking violently, with rocks bouncing everywhere. Liam looks around in confusion as the tremors get worse and cracks spread across the floor, shaking the entire cavern. Zeke knows exactly what this means. He sprints toward Liam, drawing his sword mid-run and shouting, "Drop the bag and move," but Liam is too slow. Zeke shoves him out of the way just as something massive bursts through the ground. Blood sprays everywhere, painting the whole cavern red. Liam's mind completely shuts down in panic when he sees Zeke's sleeve torn apart and his left arm looking like it went through a meat grinder. He rushes over, but Zeke waves him off like it's nothing. "Relax, it's not even my blood." Turns out our boy made the big brain move of pushing Liam away and counterattacking at the same time. Then the real problem crawls out of the hole, a massive, nightmare-fueled dungeon worm. Liam's throat goes dry because these things normally take 8 purple nights to bring down. This was the Z-Man's ace in the hole, their final screw-you trap. Liam freezes, watching the tunneling monstrosity tear through the cavern like a runaway train. He wants to help, but knows the harsh truth he'd only get in the way and probably die. So instead, he starts frantically digging through their supplies, searching for anything useful. Meanwhile, Zeke goes absolutely wild, deflecting hundreds of razor-sharp fangs flying at him from every angle. The worm is literally eating through the earth as it moves, which means they're on a ticking clock. If Zeke doesn't end this quickly, they'll either be buried alive or turned into human sushi. The monster lunges again, drilling through solid rock. Zeke sidesteps at the last possible second, ducking just inches away from being crushed. Now he has an opening. When the worm surfaces for air, Zeke lunges hard, driving his blade deep into its disgusting, pulsating gut. The strike lands, but it isn't enough to kill it. He grits his teeth and tears the sword through its flesh, carving it wide open. Purple bile and blood explode from the monster's mouth, splattering everywhere. The thing thrashes like crazy, but Zeke isn't done. The man is in full murder mode now. Just as he's about to land the killing blow, the ground beneath him gives way. He stepped on a hollow section, completely throwing off his balance. The worm sees its chance and wraps around him like a giant anaconda. Pressure is insane. Zeke feels his bones creaking and his organs being crushed. He coughs up blood as the worm squeezes tighter, trying to snap him like a twig. Then, out of nowhere, a sword stabs into the worm's hide. Liam completely ignores orders and charges in anyway, stabbing the beast to draw its attention. The attack doesn't kill it, but it makes the worm loosen its grip just enough. Zeke's auto-healing kicks in, patching up his damaged organs, and that's all the opening he needs. He twists free, pulls off a sick flip through the air, and lands at a safe distance. "Liam, what the hell did you just do?" Zeke asks. Liam holds up his sword, explaining that he coated it with anesthetic. Zeke's eyes widen because the main ingredient in that anesthetic is belladonna, which is basically instant death poison to worms. Despite all the pressure and chaos, Liam remembered the worm's weakness and adapted on the spot. This right here is proof of his natural talent, a glimpse of the mercenary king he will become one day. Respecting the clutch play, Zeke decides to let Liam join the final attack. Fully healed, he explodes forward at maximum speed, sprinting up the worm's massive body to yank out his embedded sword. He locks eyes with Liam and gives the signal. Liam grits his teeth, pouring everything he has into one final stab, pumping even more belladonna poison into the monster. The worm crashes down hard, spasming like it's having a seizure. That's Zeke's cue. He activates Soul Manifestation, and his blade lights up with a wicked purple aura. With one clean, smooth slash, the dungeon worm is sliced clean in half. Its corpse drops, twitching a few times before going completely still, and Zeke lands looking cool as hell, while system notifications flood his vision. Quest complete, all his karma points doubled as promised. Plus, he got 2 random loot boxes, bringing his balance to 780 karma points and giving him plenty of options to work with. Then the scene shifts. Now we're outside the dungeon, where all the cadets are lined up, waiting to hear whether they passed. The instructor walks up, looking dead serious, and tells everyone who made it out alive to step forward for scoring. Everyone else can leave. When Raina's name is called, she steps up, and the instructor starts reading her stats. You escaped, so that's 30 points. Plus, you killed 20 goblins, 2 hobgoblins, and an orc. Total 180 points. The whole crowd goes silent. This dude came within 20 points of Abel's legendary 200-point record, and Abel is pure-blooded royalty. Everyone's shaken because Turan passed by a massive 130-point margin. Next up is Owen, and he's told he scored 120, which is 70 above the minimum. The instructor says it's not bad, but you can tell Owen is only mildly satisfied. Nothing crazy. Meanwhile, Owen is standing off to the side, watching it all unfold, while thinking that if Raina becomes a problem, they'll deal with him the same way they dealt with Zeke. Basically, he's implying they tried to kill him. Then, out of nowhere, someone speaks up casually saying, "Man, how long has it been since I saw sunlight?" Everyone turns around, and there's Zeke walking out from behind some rocks, casually carrying a severed monster head like it's a grocery bag. The entire crowd loses it. People start whispering, "Gee, how is he alive? Is that a dungeon worm? Wait, wasn't the orc supposed to be the boss?" Then Liam steps forward and drops an urn on the ground without saying a word. Zeke looks straight at Owen with a smug grin and says, "You look surprised. Don't tell me you're actually happy to see me." Owen clenches his jaw and mutters, "Eep." Zeke crouches down, still grinning like a menace, and says, "That poker face of yours is way better when it cracks." Owen doesn't even answer. He just turns around and storms off. As he's walking away, Zeke calls out, "Leaving already?" Owen mutters under his breath about how pure bloods always treat him like trash, and how one day they'll all pay for it. Some cadets stand there gripping their tokens, not knowing what to think, and Zeke just shrugs and says, "Terrifying," in the most sarcastic tone possible. Then Instructor Andre steps up, looking pissed, and asks, "Are you done showing off?" Zeke says, "It's been a while," and Andre pulls on some gloves, ready to start the evaluation. Zeke glances at the wormhead and asks if they really need to do all this, but Andre shuts him down immediately, saying that as long as he's the one evaluating, nothing gets skipped. He notices Zeke's collection bag is missing, and Zeke admits he lost it. Andre crouches down and starts inspecting the worm's head very closely, and this is where it gets wild. The worm had actually ambushed Zeke and eaten everything he'd collected over 3 days, so Zeke killed it and took its head as proof. Andre examines the teeth and finds traces of gremlins, goblins, hobgoblins, hellhounds, orcs, and even a troll stuck there from previous meals. The whole crowd gasps again. Andre stands up and announces that, to keep things fair, hell only count 1 of each creature. Then he drops the bomb. Trolls are worth 90 points, and worms are worth 180. Zeke's total? 368 points. The place goes completely silent because that's an insane score. One guy even asks what the top score was back in their day. But of course, some guy starts screaming that it's a scam because there's only 1 corpse. Zeke calmly tells him that 1 wormhead alone is worth 180 points, then asks if any of them really think they'd survive running into a dungeon worm or a troll. While he's talking, Zeke thinks about how people are actually taking him seriously this time instead of mocking him. He realizes Zimin must have rigged the last trial to take him out, and he glances at Owen, knowing he's involved somehow but not working alone. Zeke figures he needs to stay in character and avoid acting too careful, or they'll get suspicious. Then Raina steps forward and says, "This time, you win." Zeke asks, "What's that supposed to mean?" But the scene cuts away. Later, in the training hall, Zeke is looking at his status window, and there's a dragon skill called Gluttony available for 50 points. He has 780 karma saved up, so he activates it. Description changes, explaining that he can now consume anything and convert it into energy. He can also absorb monster abilities. Zeke is hyped because he realizes he should have tried this sooner. He tests it with some dried meat. The moment gluttony activates, the meat gets sucked into a black void like it's being swallowed by a swamp. A message pops up saying his missing energy has been replenished, and suddenly Zeke feels completely refreshed. His headache is gone, and he no longer feels exhausted. Then he realizes he can now regulate the energy cost of all his abilities. That means no more mental crashes. Combined with infinite stamina, he can literally train 247 without taking breaks. Just as he's about to start, Decker shows up and says it's urgent. Zeke's sword is ready. Our boy perks up instantly and heads to Galleon. In his past life, Galleon forged him a legendary blade, and this time Zeke gave him a dragon's fang, so he's expecting something just as incredible. But when he actually sees the sword, he stops dead in his tracks and narrows his eyes. Because what the hell is this? Still, he decides to check it out anyway, and first thing he notices is that it looks unfinished. Like, bro, did you forget the final step? He turns to Galleon, completely confused, like, did you seriously hand me a sword with no edge? Did you forget to sharpen this thing? But Galleon is completely unbothered. He just nods and says, yes, that's exactly how it's supposed to be. Zeke looks at it and says, so this is what you think suits me best? Galleon gives him a simple yes without hesitation, and Zeke goes quiet for a second, because honestly, most people would look at this dull blade and think, bro, what? But Galleon understands without Zeke needing to explain a single thing. Then Galleon drops another bomb. The sword doesn't even have a name yet. He tried thinking of one, but nothing felt right, so he wants Zeke to name it himself. Now Zeke is caught off guard because, back in the day, Galleon forged this legendary blade called Solar Raiden's Gram, so he figured this was just Gram 2.0 made from a dragon fang. But holding it now, he realizes this is something completely different. Without warning, our boy draws the blade straight across his palm, and blood starts pouring out. Galleon's eyes go wide like, bro, what the hell are you doing? But Zeke doesn't even flinch. His healing factor kicks in like usual, then suddenly stops. A message pops up saying his healing skill has been temporarily disabled, and Zeke grins because that means it worked exactly as planned. He channels his mana straight into the blood and lets it coat the blade. And not even joking, the steel literally drinks it in like it's been thirsty for centuries. Galleon stands there in complete shock, and then it hits him. Wait, is he performing a sword-naming ritual? See, this is ancient, forgotten magic from the Age of Dragons that nobody uses anymore. You merge your mana with your blood, let it touch the sword, then you pass out, drifting through a timeless dream state until the weapon's true name reveals itself to you. The problem is, this ritual is insanely dangerous. It's so dangerous that the world basically forgot it ever existed because people kept dying while trying. Yet here is Zeke performing it perfectly, and Galleon is internally freaking out, thinking, how does this kid even know about this? Zeke's body drops as he falls unconscious, and he finds himself floating in an endless void with an infinite storm of names swirling around him. He drifts there, searching for the right one, when suddenly it clicks. Black Sword Bahamut. A message confirms it has been registered, and Zeke's eyes snap open. Hair's back in reality, with red mana flickering around the blade like flames. Then it hits him. Out of literally every name in existence, he chose Bahamut, the name of a pure evil dragon known for destruction. He's like, yo, what is actually wrong with me? Galleon steps forward, looking impressed as hell, saying even the dwarves barely remember the sword-naming ritual exists, let alone how to perform it. Zeke plays it cool, casually saying he came across it while studying old dragon history texts. He glances at his wrapped palm and jokes that it's been forever since he actually needed a bandage for anything. Galleon bows slightly and tells him to rest while he goes to grab something he's been meaning to give him. While waiting, Zeke realizes he can actually shut off his passive skills now, which is huge because it means he can hide his abilities whenever he wants instead, walking around like a living status screen, revealing everything to anyone with analysis skills. Then he looks at the sword, and another message appears, saying some features are sealed and will unlock as he gets stronger. Zeke is stunned. He's never heard of a weapon that literally grows with the user, like it has its own skill tree. Plus, it's completely indestructible and started as a dragon fang, but the ritual transformed it into something entirely different. Blue mana joins the red, both now swirling around the blade together. But what really matters to Zeke is the aura conversion ability, and this is where it gets crazy. See, our boy was born completely unable to use aura. A total genetic loss. This sword can convert his raw mana into pure aura, which is what makes it absolutely legendary. As he grips the hilt, tighter the blue mana flares even brighter, and he thinks to himself that this sword is exactly what can take him from Purple Knight level straight to Red Knight tier. Galleon comes back panting, saying he finally found what he was looking for. Then he sees Zeke standing there, surrounded by that glowing aura, and stops dead in his tracks with a proud smile, saying Zeke has already surpassed the Purple Knight level entirely. Zeke looks at the sword, muttering that this thing is absolutely ridiculous. He gives Galleon credit for completely outdoing himself. Galleon laughs it off, saying that compared to building that insane dragon furnace, this was the easy part. Then he holds out a small metallic scarab. Zeke is curious, and Galleon explains that his master made it. That's when it clicks for Zeke. Galleon's master was Gaul and Jobert, an absolute legend in the smithing world, literally better than even the most famous dwarven smiths. His creations are worth more than entire noble estates. Galleon shows him how it works. You twist the dial on the scarab, and boom, it transforms into a full shield made of mithril and wyvern bone that can block almost anything thrown at it. Twist it again, and it folds right back into compact scarab form. Galleon offers it to Zeke, saying it's not nearly enough to repay his kindness, but he hopes he'll accept it anyway. Zeke says, "Bro, you know you could have sold this thing and built yourself 3 new furnaces, right?" But Galleon says there's no way he'd sell something his master crafted to just any random person. When Zeke points out it's worth tens of thousands of gold pieces, Galleon is genuinely surprised by the exact number. Just shrugs, saying that's all the more reason he'd be honored if Zeke accepted it as a gift. Zeke takes the scarab and places it on the blade. Instantly, he feels a powerful surge of energy flowing through both items. He realizes this is much more than it appears on the surface, and properly thanks Galleon, who's just happy our boy likes it. Back at the training hall, Zeke opens one of his loot boxes and pulls out heavy dark gauntlets made of meteoric iron, which is insanely rare and nearly impossible to refine properly. A message pops up saying they have a special ability locked inside, which requires the full meteoric iron armor set to activate. Zeke realizes these aren't just random loot drops. They came from those surprise quest rewards, and he had assumed they were basic treasure chest filler. Clearly, he was completely wrong. He turns to the second box, curiosity now completely taking over, flips it open, and his eyes go wide. What the hell is this? Robert thought he'd find some kick-ass weapon, but no, it's just a dusty old map. Before he can even be properly disappointed, the system hits him with a notification saying he has unlocked a map tied to someone called Grandmaster Kaiser. That name rings a bell, and Zeke starts putting it together, realizing this might be connected to the hero King Kaiser. You know, that legendary figure from the old tales about the Knights of the Clock Tower, who supposedly founded the entire kingdom of Krons. Most people think that story is complete fairy tale nonsense. But now Zeke is thinking, hold up, what if this guy was actually real? Before he can spiral too deeply into conspiracy theories, another notification pops up saying analysis complete, and coordinates appear on his minimap, pointing straight to the giant mountains, which are deep in barbarian territory where no sane person goes willingly. But Zeke is actually grinning because he recognizes the spot and thinks this might not be the nightmare quest he expected. Then the system goes into full infodump mode. The tutorial is officially over. Thanks to his skills, he has obtained a potential quest item, and he has unlocked achievement quest data. Reading through everything, Zeke starts connecting the dots. This whole tutorial wasn't some baby mode warm-up. It was deliberately designed to build his stats and abilities for whatever hell comes next. The final message confirms it. The tutorial for a low-tier administrator is about to begin. Zeke doesn't even flinch because he knows the kid gloves are off now. He checks the reward list, and his eyes light up because these rewards are on a completely different level from the trash he's been getting. He cracks his knuckles and opens his status screen, finally ready to spend the points he's been hoarding. The system responds instantly. 50 points go into unlocking level 2 draconian skills. Bro unlocks and upgrades a bunch of skills, then saves 400 points for later. Another notification appears. Draconian skill activated. Zeke looks down, and his hand starts straight up morphing into a terrifying dragon claw covered in scales. He decides to test it and unleashes a burst. The sheer destructive force shocks even him. It's way stronger than he expected. Then he grabs his sword and activates dragon scale armor, and instantly, sleek, badass scales ripple across his entire body, forming a protective layer. To test it, this madman swings his blade at full power right at himself, and instead of turning into sushi, the strike harmlessly bounces off. He didn't even infuse aura into that hit, and it didn't leave a single scratch. To Zeke, this armor's durability is like wearing reinforced plate mail while completely naked. He makes a mental note: Dragon Claw for offense, Dragon Scale armor for defense. With this new power-up, he knows everything has changed, and the real game is about to begin. Cut to Draker Academy's central training hall, where cadets stand in formation, nervous as hell, while the instructors lay down the rules. He gestures toward humanoid training dummies that are anything but ordinary practice equipment. These things are engineered to withstand extreme punishment, and pure physical attacks won't even scratch them. That's the whole point, because if you can't even leave a mark on your dummy, you automatically fail, which means going back to basic training like a scrub. That announcement hits like a truck, and whispers ripple through the group because nobody wants to start over after coming this far. The instructor calls the first name Aaron, and the poor guy steps forward looking shaky but doesn't back down. Owen watches from the sidelines, and this can't help mentally flexing, thinking that the entire foundation of aura instruction at this academy was built by his family, the Zimmons. So even if someone was a born awakener, they couldn't match his level of control because bloodline privilege hits different. Then Owen's name gets called. He steps up with total confidence, draws his sword, and starts channeling aura. One student says, "Wait, is that sword resonance?" One instructor raises an eyebrow, genuinely impressed, saying that's pretty rare at 13. Another nods like, "Well, yeah, makes sense. He's from the Simmon family." Owen barely pauses before slamming his sword into the dummy, shattering it cleanly in one smooth strike. Laughter and applause erupt, and pride surges through him as he glances over at Abel with a smug-ass look. The instructor claps once, saying, "Well done, impressive," and Owen is practically glowing as he walks over to Abel, giving him a friendly shoulder pat while starting to say something, but Owen immediately cuts him off, brushing his hand away and telling him not to be so smug because it's rude and annoying. As the line keeps moving, the instructors start noticing something strange, even though nobody is outright failing. A bunch of cadets seem rattled, clearly thrown off by Owen's performance, setting the bar absurdly high. From the sidelines, Rain quietly observes, noting that even though every student in the special class can channel aura, only a few truly stand out. She takes a breath and steps forward. "Instructor, I have a request." He turns to her and asks what's up, and she calmly says, "I'd like to be evaluated under the dragon-slaying art standard." The instructor's eyebrow shoots up because that grading system is reserved for higher-ranked cadets, and it's much stricter, so he asks if she actually understands what she's signing up for. Raina nods, saying she knows very well but would still like to try. Owen, this delusional, starts thinking that ever since she became a pure-blood awakener, she's gotten bold, maybe too bold. He knows dragon-slaying arts are on another level, where every strike requires perfect control, balancing aura flow with flawless precision, and one tiny mistake ruins everything. Owen scoffs internally, convinced she'll be lucky to get a few strikes in before her aura burns out completely. He thinks she's doing all this to compete with him, while the instructor asks her again if she's absolutely sure she wants to do this, because if she fails, it will cost her. But she's already made up her mind, so there's no going back. Then she pulls out her sword and starts straight up destroying dummies. And by the time she's done, there's nothing left. Students start talking among themselves, saying she's in a league of her own. And this jealous Almayak is cursing under her breath. Just then, Rina points her sword at the crowd. He thinks she's mocking him, but no. She doesn't give a hack about him because she's pointing at our boy. All right, so Zeke stands there realizing what Raina just pulled, and he's like, here we go. He knows that if he backs down now, this girl will roast him for the rest of his life. So he raises his hand and says he wants to take the dragon-slaying arts evaluation too. One instructor immediately gives him that look like, "Bro, are you serious? You think this is a joke just because Raina made it look easy? She's a pure-blood awakener, kid." But before the guy can finish his lecture, another instructor cuts in, saying Zeke will face the exact same conditions Reina did, and asks if he's fine with that. Zeke just nods like it's nothing. Off to the side, one instructor whispers, "Yo, who even is this kid? I've never seen him in class," and the head instructor fills him in. Turns out Zeke won some bet with instructor Andre, and he's that golden light pureblood awakener who came out of nowhere and completely demolished Abel's record during the dungeon escape exam. Zeke steps up with his sword, and just as he's about to swing, a system notification appears saying ether is being converted into aura. Blue energy starts swirling around his blade, and he grits his teeth, thinking that controlling this power surge still isn't easy, but it should be enough. Rain watches from the sidelines, and her eyes widen because she immediately recognizes the stance. Dragon Slaying Arts, Chapter 1, Verse 4, Sky Slice. She is thinking this, didn't just learn it. He's mastered the kick thing. His form might even be as good as instructor Andres. Zeke swings, and the dummies straight up explode into pieces. In his head, he reflects on how this technique isn't something he simply picked up. It's part of him now. After drilling it non-stop for 2 years before his regression until it became pure muscle memory, he lets out a slow breath, thinking there was a time when he found the dragon-slaying arts boring as hell. But starting from scratch again, they don't feel so dull anymore, and maybe that little flex was enough to shake Reina up a bit. The instructors start losing their minds. One points out that Zeke coated his blade in aura, while another talks about the insane intensity of that strike. The whispers keep growing, with some wondering if this kid is already close to Purple Knight rank. Zeke glances down at the wreckage, muttering that he might have overdone it. It seems some of his aura leaked out without him realizing it, and he only wanted to match Reina, not become the main character. One instructor just stares at the destruction, saying, "A first year is already a Purple Knight," while Owen watches from the corner with his fists clenched so tightly they're probably bleeding, and Reina stands there with a creepy-ass smile spreading across her face. The scene cuts to the headmaster's office, where the old man is pouring tea and casually bringing up Zeke's Indian exam results. Zeke plays it humble, saying he just got lucky, but the headmaster chuckles like, "Kid, becoming a Purple Knight at 13 isn't luck." Then he drops the real bomb. How would Zeke feel about taking the grade advancement exam? Zeke blinks, realizing that means skipping grades, and the headmaster explains that the system allows it when a student's ability justifies it. It could be 1 grade or even more, depending on how well he does. Zeke thinks the headmaster is moving way faster than expected, but it makes sense since he made a bigger splash than planned, so he accepts with a polite smile, fully aware that he's walking into something sketchy. As he leaves, he mutters that the headmaster is definitely plotting something, but hell, play along for now. Back inside, the headmaster turns to someone sitting across from him, seeing both Reina Draker and Zeke. Draker, pure-blooded awakeners, have agreed to take the exam. The figure nods, saying they'll handle the arrangements, while the headmaster folds his hands with a slight smile, thinking things are about to get very interesting. Cut to the upper-class Aura training hall, where Zeke and Reina stand side by side, and the atmosphere is tense as hell. With Reina death staring at Zeke, he lets out a quiet sigh, thinking, would it kill you to stop staring? Then a voice calls out, apologizing for being late, and a tall man in shining armor walks in. Sir Owl Draker, official examiner and knight of the Draker main family. Zeke's whole expression changes the second he sees him, whispering the name and thinking, no way. Could it really be him? The one they used to call D-Back Blade. A flashback hits, cold night air, the weight of a dead body in his arms, and fingers digging into dirt to make a grave. In that memory, another version of Zeke, Zeke Murray, walks up and stops, muttering Empire's lapdog before heading to the body and kneeling with a shovel. He says that even if the guy told him not to, he'd still help bury them. He introduces himself as Zeke Murray from the Northern Allied Forces and asks if the man is a Draker. The man shakes his head, saying that life is behind him, and Zeke laughs, asking what he should call him then. The man answers with dead certainty, Dieback Blade. The memory fades, and Zeke is back in the present, whispering that the name suits him far too well. He snaps out of it as the formalities begin. Both he and Reina bow deeply, saying, Sir Dracker, and an instructor steps forward, laying out the exam rules. It follows the alumni cradle method. A sword duel with no time limit that only ends when someone yields or gets knocked out, so they can go all out. Reina immediately steps forward, saying she'll go first, but D-back calmly raises his hand and says there's no need to take turns. They should both come at him at the same time. Hearing that, both Zeke and Reina freeze. Because hold up, that's not how this usually works. Zeke looks over at Reina with the most bored expression and tells her to calm down because there's a huge skill gap here. Whether they like it or not, the test has already started. Reina shoots him a look that could kill, but our boy doesn't even flinch. He flat out tells her that charging in like an idiot will destroy her score. She doesn't answer. She just stares ahead, turning completely serious. And Zeke hides a tiny smile, thinking, okay, good. At least she's not completely stupid. He leans closer and says they only need one good hit, and he's already figured out how to pull it off. They both get into position. Owen pulls out his sword, which looks like a katana, and for some reason, Reina's ego takes a hit from the whole fighting together thing. But her pride isn't going to win this fight. This isn't some honorable showdown or contest over who's tougher. They have a game plan, so they just need to stick to it. They go in, and everything instantly goes crazy. Blades collide with insane speed and power, metal screaming as they both go absolutely wild on D-back at the same time. Reina grits her teeth hard, thinking, so this is what real power feels like. Because just like Zeke said, she's been aiming for weak spots but can't land a single hit. Forget doing any real damage. So our boy decides to break out his dragon-slaying moves, and Reina does the same. Her sword starts glowing with wicked blue mana because this attack requires intent, straight-up killing intent. She rockets forward, blade slicing through the air, but D-back slides aside smoothly, then counters and absolutely wrecks Reina from the side. Defense crumbles like paper, blood sprays everywhere, and she hits the ground, hard. The instructor loses it, screaming for someone to check whether Reina is okay, and she drags herself up saying she's fine, but warns everyone to stay back because this is sketchy as hell. Right then, something clicks in her head. She actually passed out for a second there, and if she can't even stay conscious, how the hell is she supposed to create an opening? She gets it. With what she has right now, she has absolutely no chance of winning. Reina's eyes narrow, looking furious, because there's no way she's pulling a cheap move like that. She was not about to ruin the honor of a real fight with sneaky tricks. Zeke just shrugs, not caring at all, and says honor doesn't put food on the table. This isn't some fantasy night story. It's a test to see if they can actually kill things, and then he slaps her shoulder like that ends the discussion. Reina lets out an annoyed sigh, remembering that she was the one who asked for his help. But does this guy really think having a plan is enough to beat a monster like D-back? Zeke's confidence doesn't waver. They're not trying to overpower him, just open a tiny window for one good hit. That's literally all they need to do. He brings up their fight back at the cradle, asking why she didn't grab the rope, and Reina glares, thinking back like, I didn't see that kind of move coming from you. Exactly, he says, and D-back won't either. Tossing his sword onto his shoulder, Zeke points at her and says to wait for his signal, because it will work, but only once. Then, without letting her answer, he bolts like a maniac. The edge of his sword lights up as the dragon-slaying moves activate. Energy running down the blade like it's catching fire, and D-back's eyes turn serious, recognizing the technique as Sir Dexter's style. He dodges with incredible smoothness, but Zeke smiles, thinking, no more playing nice, old man. The swords crash together, and an explosion of light bursts between them. D-back actually stumbles, jerking back for half a second as he catches a flash in the mana. His eyes go wide, recognizing mana inheritance, the pure light of a real awakener flooding the entire room in a blinding flash. D-back mutters that simply blinding him won't be enough, but doubt creeps in. How the hell is Zeke still moving so cleanly inside this spinning darkness? Shadows are swallowing everything, but he's sliding through as if the light is still there. Hidden in the pitch black, Zeke lets a tiny smirk show, thinking this is the perfect moment to try his new dragon skill. D-back tenses because this isn't the kind of power a first year should have, but Zeke isn't fighting like one anymore. He looks at Reina, who is still struggling in the dark, unlike Zeke. He can't see a thing in here, so now he's wondering if all that power Zeke just released was really only meant to mess with his eyes. It's a trick that usually only works on rookies, but then Zeke strikes again, and D-back barely dodges, except something feels off. Zeke's rhythm hasn't missed a beat. His attacks are smooth, clever, and sharp as hell, and then he simply disappears. In nothing. Dieback spins around, searching. But there's nothing there, only a faint shape drifting like smoke and moonlight, with glowing streaks twisting through the shadows. Strange sounds echo all through the hall, movement coming from every direction as Zeke's entire presence melts into this flawless trick, and Dieback clenches his jaw because he can't trust a single thing his body is telling him. Then Zeke appears again, sword ready, eyes calm, smile fixed, and swings. Out of nowhere, alarms start screaming, a loud-ass noise ripping through the hall, and Dieback's brain kicks into gear, spotting some kind of one-shot gadget, with simple parts and a compact build. The magic inside doesn't need to explode, just light and sound are enough to mess someone up badly. A huge blast goes off, Zeke throws his arms up to block his ears, and Reina makes her move. The noise slams into Dieback like a truck, and he staggers, hands flying to his head as he spits out a curse because he underestimated her and is now paying for it. Reina and Zeke charge in together, their swords glowing as they unleash a technique from the dragon-slaying arts. Chapter 4, Verse 1, Full Moon Slash. Double arcs of energy slice through the air, about to finish the whole thing. So the fight is over now, and people are scrambling with stretchers to haul Reina and Zeke's half-dead bodies out of there. Meanwhile, one instructor walks up to Owl, patting him on the back like, "Yo, nice workout out there." And just then, Dexter strolls in casually, looking at Owl and asking, "Did you really have to go that hard on a couple of kids?" Owl immediately drops into a formal bow, greeting the drunk Duke properly and respectfully. But of course, Dexter couldn't care less about formalities. He just slaps a hand on Owl's shoulder and asks him straight up, "So how was my disciple?" And I swear the look on Owl's face is priceless. Bro is having a full existential crisis. His mind races back to the moment Zeke literally threw his own sword just to block Owl's attack. He's thinking, this kid definitely could have counterattacked. He had the opening and the skill, so why didn't he? Then it hits Owl. This little monster was probably only showing techniques he considered suitable for the fight, like our boy was actually holding back. Owl turns serious, looks the drunk Duke dead in the eye, and says, "That boy is far beyond my ability to evaluate." Cut to the advancement meeting, where the dean asks all the teachers what they think about promoting Zeke and Reina. And after seeing our boy's performance, everyone votes yes without hesitation. As a result, Reina advances to 3rd grade and Zeke skips straight to 5th grade. Now Zeke has already pulled off one crazy stunt after another, so he decides, you know what? Let me relax for a while and stop getting on everyone's nerves. During this peaceful stretch, he learns all the Gale arts from Dexter and keeps a solid friendship with Four Eyes, but eventually bro is just too good for this place. The Royal Magic Academy comes knocking and recruits Four Eyes, so Zeke has to say goodbye to him. Since Zeke is keeping his head down and not causing chaos, the 3 great families leave him alone for once. But Owl? No, this man is obsessed. He shows up every single quarter asking for a rematch, and just like that, 2 years fly by and Zeke graduates from the academy. Then Zeke returns home. Our video ends here. If you liked it, please leave a like. See you next time. Bye-bye.